fans in a lot of ways. I know how they feel. They're great. They're loyal. They want to bang for their buck.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to a special episode 44 of the Larschcast. On this episode, the boys are joined by Todd Bertuzzi, yes, of the West Coast Express era. Later, they're joined by Stacy Joe Rost of ESPN 710 to catch up on football. Let's go.
Hold up. Hope you're ready for the next episode. Hey.
All right, everybody, welcome to a very special episode of the Larschcast here. Episode 80 something, but honestly, that does no justice to who we have here as a guest. So I'm calling it episode 44. Sorry to whoever was on episode 44, but this is the new and official episode 44 because we have Todd Bertuzzi here on the show. Todd, how are you doing?
I'm doing actually pretty good. Albeit it's been a weird year, tough year, difficult year. I've had my kids at home the whole time, so that's been a blessing. It's a lot of family time and all that. But with his season maybe being canceled, it's been a little bit tough times or whatever. But Christmas was good, and I'm waiting for the lake to freeze over so I can get all these kids who aren't playing hockey and at the backyard to play some outdoor hockey games.
So you're out in Michigan, right? So do you have a lot of that backdoor rink availability there? Or like, is it?
Yeah, I actually, you know what? During COVID, I was living downtown Birmingham, and I just maybe 4 months in, I was like, okay, I got to move somewhere, man. This is getting a little bit too regime. So we ended up finding a place out in the lake in Lake Orion, and I've been out here for 5 months just trying to get things settled in and all that, and starting to get a little bit of freezing on the lake. So hopefully by middle of January or February, we got some hockey games going on out there.
That's awesome.
Love it. I got to follow up there. So a few, I don't know, I guess in the beginning of November, you started some controversy about maybe moving to Canada. So have you started looking at houses in Vancouver yet? Or
what's your new address, Bert? Tell us.
You know what? It doesn't matter what you say. Any little troll in the garage is going to pick something up and run with it. The fact that I said that was in jest and a joke.
Yeah.
Albeit I lived in Vancouver. I know Vancouver's very liberal and all that. I'm not partial to anything. I'm just, if you want to be that, you're that. I'm not, whatever, man. Believe whatever you want to believe, think what you want to think. Who cares what I think? I don't care what you think. I'm not going to get mad at you, so don't get mad at me. So I made it in jest as a joke. It went overboard, and all the people like, well, you can't come back to Vancouver. You know, guess what? I'll come back to Vancouver whenever I want.
There you go.
I'll send you the address or the bar that I'm going to be at, and you can come visit me and we can talk then.
Speak to that, though, because honestly, Todd, like we've kind of entered this market as fans.
Yeah.
I know, C-Max put us on the radio, and we're doing well, but we want to represent the fans. That's our mantra. But we're kind of getting a taste of that, kind of joining Twitter and seeing how crazy it is. Just like whatever you say, and even like you said, it's a very liberal city. Can you speak to that a little bit more? This is a podcast, not on official radio, so you can go a little more.
Yeah, well, you know what? Like, I've never been on social media. I never have. I never will. My kids aren't. I think there's a place for it. I think there's a market for it if it's done the right way and the correct way. I know people learn a lot about different things, news, sports, and all that kind of stuff, but there's just so many sad individuals that I don't know if they just don't like their life or they're just miserable at what it is, but they're so negative and they attack you for what? Like even watching the World Juniors and all that, I'm sure on Twitter or whatever, they're attacking these kids saying, what kind of game was this? Blah, 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 blah. It's just like, that's why I don't even bother with or deal with it. And those sad people that feel the need to bash other people and come after other people, man, I feel sorry for those people. I really do.
So Todd, sorry, jumping in from that, like about the media, like I think you'll agree. I think we all agree. Some of your best times as an NHL player were in Vancouver. I mean, you're a fan favorite. You're loved by the fans, but the media was always kind of like in your face. So as much as you loved it here, when you left, was a small part of you kind of happy just to get away from all the media and all like, living in this fishbowl and getting somewhere where you weren't going to be the center of attention no matter what you did?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I addressed it like maybe a month ago with C-ball and all that, and I did say, you know what, I don't think I handled it properly, but at the same time, it just came so freaking fast to me, and the questions became just the same thing over and over and over, and I don't know how many ways I could twist it or tell it to say the same story and all that. But looking at it now as a 45-year-old, I look back and I could have handled the situation a lot better. But
well, let's not get into that. Let's forget about that stuff. Like, I think Nav was just talking in general, though. Just
yeah, but you know what? No, what I'm saying though is you can use it to your benefit.
Yeah.
Having the media on your side and all that, and you can have relationships. So after Vancouver, I ended up having a lot of relationships with a lot of the media guys and the people that I went to different cities and all that. I just saw it differently. But yeah, going from Vancouver to Florida, not having any media and all that, it was a breath of fresh air and all that. But looking at it right now, it's like you can handle it differently and use it to your advantage. But I was always under the mindset when I grew up, I'm a hockey player. I'm a hockey player only. I'm there to entertain the fans, the people that pay money to come watch the games. I'm not paid to give a story or go into detail on what went on in the game to sell a paper. I'm there to entertain the fans, to sell the game to the fans, sell myself to the fans and to the people on TV, not the paper. That's the way I look at it.
So let's jump right into that entertaining brand of hockey that you played.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's very unique. I mean, I've yet to see another player in this league that kind of resembled the way you played the game. You know, you were just one of the biggest bodies out there, but you had the softest hands. And maybe there was one gentleman that, you know, Kirby Doc kind of is coming up here. He maybe has a little bit of that, but still, it's nothing compared to what you have. So I want to ask you, you know, the way you
may not anymore. I mean, he's rested.
I was just gonna say he's got
Holy
a
shit.
hand now.
I know.
Unfortunately,
You know what? I just saw that.
Wow, that picture is horrific.
Well, remember, it's a
tough one.
dislocation. It looked like a dislocation. Those look really bad. I had a couple of my thumbs, and your thumb looks like just completely out of whack. So,
Oh man.
for his sake and Chicago's sake, because I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
I love the way he plays.
Yeah,
I hope he heals up and he's ready for the start of the season.
absolutely. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Just to wrap up with the question, though, is there anybody in this league that you ever thought of, like, hey, you know, they kind of play like the way I played the game?
Not really. I see guys that have similarities. I don't know. I tried to pick up like the Lemieux Jagger hands, feel to the game, slow the play down. And then I tried to bring some of the Cam Neely, the physicality, the intimidation. I don't know. I just love playing hockey, man. And I love playing it hard. I love playing it mean. I loved holding on to the puck. I loved running guys through the boards. I loved,
that's what it is. Love.
I love goofing around in practice, trying new things between the legs.
Yeah.
But I grew up in an era where a lot of that was frowned upon, the creativity and the excitement and fun. So there's a lot of butting heads with my coaches.
You broke barriers. Dude, like,
yeah, I could see that.
Coaches and myself that didn't get along very well, but earlier on, I can do what I want because I was being successful with it.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter what Crow said, whatever I said went.
He couldn't have been mad when you nailed Chris Chelios, man.
Oh,
I think
hell
everyone
yeah, exactly.
loved it. That was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was still one of the weirdest things when I went to Detroit and I walked into that room after getting traded from Florida to Detroit. And Chris is there, Drapes is there, Maltz,
Oh man.
McCartney, all the guys. It was like when I first walked in, I was like, oh boy, this is a little tough. We went out for beers after. When I got traded there, I didn't even play. I played one game in the regular season because I had 2 back surgeries in Florida. So, but then we ended up going on that big run in the playoffs. We lost in the Western Finals to Anaheim in Game 7, but all class act guys, still have really good relationships with them, and
Did you
quite often.
Did you and
great.
Chelios actually have a good chuckle over that though?
But he's a Greek and I'm an Italian, man.
So speaking of good chuckles, Bert, I got to ask, since you mentioned Lidstrom, have you guys talked about the flip the puck in from center ice thing at all?
Man.
Has that come up? I got to ask.
Man.
Yeah, no, man, I gotta tell you, he's all class, man. Like I don't think he would ever bring something up like that because that was something that affected our city. And our
So
team.
much. People are still so hurt over it.
People still
Yeah,
think about that.
but at the same time, enough with the Kluche thing. It wasn't Kluche.
That's a hard thing to stop, man. Like
Well,
anybody that's in that position, it's like trying to catch a fumbled football.
Well, first of all, none of them, no fan or anyone who's complaining can even make a save. You're not playing leagues.
Exactly.
Second of all, there was many opportunities that we could have scored and won. Our line didn't play. We could have contributed a lot more. Daniel and Hendrick had a very good series. But it was tough because they had a line of Maltz, Drapes, and McCarty that just wouldn't leave. They were just out there to shut us down. So when you're offensive players, it's very difficult when their focus is only to keep the puck out of the net. They're not looking to, so they're not giving us much. So we were forced into doing a lot of turnovers and trying to make up for things and all that kind of stuff. But no, Nick was a class act, man. I've never seen someone play 27 minutes, not sweat, and just look perfect after the game.
Really?
Can you speak about like Stevie Y? Like, I mean, he's obviously a legend, right? And just being, you know, on one side with the Canucks and then the other side with the Red Wings. Can you just speak to like I guess what does Stevie Y mean to Detroit? I mean, we probably don't understand.
You know what? He's just class. There's some guys in the league, Mary Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, Lidstrom, Yzerman. They just carry themselves with just a different they look different. They look perfect. Like they don't look like a handful of tattoos, teeth missing, and all this. They just look perfect. And Stevie's huge right now because in Detroit we're going through a pretty difficult time right now. We're not used to that here. The city is nothing but a championship city as far as the Red Wings, and for them to go back to where they were before Stevie got drafted here, it's hard for the fans. A lot of fans don't remember those bad, crappy times, man. So their panties are all in a bunch up here right now. Where the heck is this winning team and all that? But I've been doing a little bit of TV for them and kind of making it clear, hey, I've been in cities where there's lots of losing and no championships. You guys got banners up everywhere. It's going to be a process. So Stevie started the process when he got drafted from Peterborough to Detroit, and now he's going to try to get them back to this promised land. And I like his thought process. He's a very intelligent guy. He thinks outside the box, and even the kid that he picked, no one thought he was going to pick him at 4. That was kind of going off the board and all that, but Stevie knew something because all the guys that I hang out with that work for the Wings and all that, they're pretty high on this pick, and they see some good things ahead. So
you're having this kind of transition into media now. You know, you do the hits with the C-Ball on 650 here in Vancouver, and now like you mentioned, you're doing a little bit of video with Detroit. What's that been like for you? And do you see a real strong future for you in the media here?
I don't. You know what? I got to say, doing it over the phone is one thing, but when I actually went down to Vancouver and spent a week there, and went in studio. That was more enjoyable and easy to do because you're engaged. Yeah. You're right beside them and all that. On the phone, it's tough to find that rhythm and that connection with what's going on and all that. When you're right beside each other, you get this back and forth kind of stuff. You know how C-Ball and Perry work, man. They're very good together. They feed off each other. Their conversation is good. So doing a hit once in a blue moon. So I think at some point in time it would be kind of fun to come out there and try it for a year. Watching the Canucks now for the past 2 or 3 years, kind of invested in that team. I watch that team. I know pretty much everything that goes on. I watch all the games. And then one of my good friends is Travis Green. So, and I've always wanted to come back to Van and spend a little time out there. I frequently go out to Whistler and go skiing. And then last year I was at a hockey event out there. And I just love being out there, man. It's beautiful. The people are awesome. The view is not too shabby.
Yeah,
it's all right.
Not too shabby at all, eh?
Yeah. What would you say to a guy like Jake Vertanen, Bert? Would you take him under your wing and be like, you know, get your head out of your ass, or would you be like, focus on this, or what would you do?
And also, I just want to ask, because you talked earlier about love, you love to play that physical game. I think with Jake, he doesn't have that love. Is that something he can gain? And like, is there any way that you can kind of would teach him to have that love, just to further Sat's question?
Can you get it? I don't know if you can get it.
Kind of like be born with it, right?
Yeah. I think so. I had it in junior hockey, like my first 2 years. Like I was suspended 30 games. I fought 30 times. I fought nonstop, and I was very, very dirty, just the way our league was, though. It was a dog-eat-dog world back in the early 90s, playing junior hockey. And then I get to the NHL with the Islanders, and coming off a very good last junior year where I had 120-some points. I was running the league there, and we got to the finals. So I started seeing myself as a different player. Then I got into Long Island, and unfortunately I got with the wrong coach and GM in Millbury, where It was very, very difficult with this guy. I would never tell stories or anything. It wasn't, I didn't think that was the NHL. That someone should be treated like that. And I could never find my rhythm or my mojo. And then it wasn't until, thank God, Vancouver, got traded to Vancouver. And that's where Mike Keenan, Brian Burke, the likes of all these people, Dave Nonis, Tambellini, that's where they allowed me to identify and find myself and the player that I am. And I got that edge back, and I got that arrogance back.
Yeah, that swagger back, right?
Yeah. I got my swag back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can we?
Well, hold on. I got to follow up on that. Like, can you just talk about that experience, like the actual experience of getting that swagger back? Like, talk us through it. Like, how was that? Because that was a difficult situation for Vancouver when Mike Keenan and Messier came in.
Oh, and I know it was difficult with Trevor leaving. Like, I got nothing but respect for Trevor. Trevor's a terrific man. But I do understand. I didn't know much about Vancouver before I got traded there. I'm an East Coast guy. I know Toronto. I know whatever. I know Edmonton a little bit because of the Oilers with the Gretzky and all that. Vancouver, I didn't know much about. But when I got to Vancouver, I learned very fast how big Trevor was in that city. And I knew, and I remember driving with Brian McCabe. I said, geez, Caber, man, I guess I'm going to have to get off to a pretty good start here. We're back in Canada, man. It can get pretty rowdy here very quick, and it could be a quick stop if I don't get my shit together. So, but right when I got to Vancouver, I loved the style. I was comfortable in that rink. I loved playing in that rink. For some reason, it fit me. It was bright. The crowds were on top. Yeah. And then as we started building momentum, when that rink gets packed, I got to tell you, it's in the top 3 to 4 best rinks you can possibly play on when you're having success, and it's a packed house for sure.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. It's an electric building for sure. And I just want to ask you a little bit more about, the pressure you felt coming in, feeling like you had to not necessarily replace Lyndon, but like you say, get off to a hot start. And then how satisfying was it to get that satisfaction of actually delivering on that promise, and then having Lyndon come back to the team. And I would say that most fans would argue that you're up in that tier of guys that we put up on that top tier of favorite Canucks of all time. So what was that transition like?
Well, it was more coming in with Lyndon leaving than feeling pressure, because the team wasn't doing very well. So when the team's not doing very well and you're coming in new, there's really no pressure. What's the worst thing that can happen? You're still shitty.
Fair enough.
Yeah, great point.
So I was like, what do I have to lose? I'm going to come out and start running and gunning, and I'm going to start finishing my checks and try to get in some fights here and there and try to get some momentum for myself. So I kind of had a free ticket coming in, other than I had to make sure that I played really hard and responsible, and just because of the Lyndon thing only. And it was very quick transition where that was forgotten. And then it was just, okay, Todd Bertuzzi's here. Okay, now we got this, now we got that. So I thought it went pretty quick, and then I started getting momentum, and then obviously finding chemistry with Marcus and Mo. Then it just took off after that.
So I'm at that point here, because I was waiting for the right moment to mention how you chirped me at the beginning of the show here off air for rocking the Naslin jersey here. So I'm wearing the Naslin because my brother was Bertuzzi, and we were the Bertuzzi Naslin combination at every game we went to. What was that chemistry? Well, just how you discovered that chemistry on ice and off ice. Can you walk us through that relationship? I know obviously Brendan Morrison was an important part of that West Coast Express line, but I think at the end of the day, we all know you and Marcus were the two that maybe the two heads of that 3-headed monster there. That
it was more like a brotherhood. It seemed like
basically, I'm not trying to shade Brendan Morrison.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No. See, I'll start it off by saying, you know what? If it wasn't for Mo, a lot of this wouldn't have happened. But me and Marcus would have found success. But it wouldn't have been that kind of success if it wasn't for Mo playing the role that he played in there. And then as far as chemistry, honestly, guys, I don't know, man. Sometimes you just catch lightning in a bottle. You can't explain. I think it was our unselfishness. I think the fact that we wanted each other to do well. And then when that started happening, then we both started doing well. Like, there was times, I remember the one time when we were chasing him and Iggy for the goal scoring thing. Yeah. And Marcus hadn't scored in a while, and I think I'm maybe one behind. we're playing in Dallas, and I think I have a hat trick, and then they pulled the goalie going down, and I was just like, he hasn't scored in a while, and I didn't think of it as trying to win a scoring title. I'm thinking of, I need my buddy going so we can get this team rocking again and keep going and getting that confidence. It wasn't like, I want to get ahead of you in goals or I want to get ahead of you in points. It's like, hey, dude, if we can just keep climbing up this ladder together, we're going to have all the success and we're going to get all the stuff that we need just doing it together. Like individually, I don't think we could have got it done as well. It took a combo of us coming together and saying, hey, I got your back, you got my back, let's do this together. And then obviously our relationship off the ice grew. Very different people.
That's
very different people.
You guys seem like different
Kind of polar opposites.
Yeah. So
Well,
like,
I think I'm the person who made him start to drink.
Okay. Okay.
So he had like a beer.
Well,
and
I
then
like-
he done-
I
what was his drink of choice?
I was just gonna say.
I do enjoy pounding beers. I love drinking beers after a game. I find if I played really well and really hard, I deserve the
You
crush.
earned it.
Hell yes.
Pints on the way back, and then
Hell yeah.
we were taking an Air Canada flight, and they had Sleeman Ale, which Sleeman is from Guelph. I'm from Kitchener. My buddy's a brewmaster at Sleeman, so that was my beer of choice. So I brought him back a Sleeman Ale, cream ale, and we had one together. Then it started loosening him up. More to my side, the less nerdy side.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we started spending a lot more time doing long dinners together, starting to enjoy wine, learning about wine, doing that kind of stuff.
Oh, nice.
So built really from there on off the ice. We spent a lot of time. I ended up the last 2 years buying a house down where he was living and all that, just to be closer, so I wasn't driving from West Van to downtown all the time. So, and to this day, we not as often as we should, but we, me, him, and Mo were on a text chain together, and we check in every 2 or 3 months, see what's going on. I know Mo's trying to get me and him out to Hawaii for his fishing show, so we're trying to make that work. It's hard for Nazi. That's a long flight.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out how to make it a vacation where his family can come out, my family can come out, then the three of us can go and do this fishing show. Should we? So we can get
Tell him
together.
you'll put him through the boards like Chelios.
So,
if he
There you go.
So Todd, I'm not sure if this is just something I noticed. We probably all noticed this. Every time the three of you would come back to the bench, both of you, yourself and Nazi, would always seem to give like Mo a dirty look. That's what I always felt. I'm like, why don't you give me the puck? Like, what's going on? And I always felt like Brendan's like, this guy's like, I can't win. Who am I going to give the puck to?
Yeah,
These
you
two
know what?
superstars on my wing.
Yeah.
Who the puck is?
How do I say it?
Do you guys
The
ever
podcast, you can
bribe
say whatever you
Mo
want.
for the puck or what?
No,
Yeah.
I'm a heat of the moment, man. I speak like if I'm open, I'm fucking open. Like,
Yeah.
give me the fucking puck. Like if the more it's on my stick, the less it's on yours. It's better success.
Hell
That
yes.
kind of attitude.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, Nazi was the exact same way, just in a very soft, gentle voice. I was a bit more tough and louder, but he took it, and he took it well. He gave it back though. There was we would spend the 3 years basically yipping back and forth, and there were times where I looked at Nazi and said, "Hey, I'm fucking Hail Marying it right over his head, right to your stick, and just fucking go in so it can just be 19 from 44, just to let him know."
Not that high off the ice though.
Do you ever chirp Mo for the lack of teeth he has in the front there? Because isn't he missing his first 4 teeth there?
Well, no, he got when he was younger, he got bucked by a horse.
Oh
shit.
Oh my God.
That's how we lost it, and he
What
doesn't
Jesus.
he doesn't have like he's got a little like a wheeze to his voice. So yes, we would occasionally chirp him, and then there was a lot of that kind of stuff. Like we actually had a blast. If we talk about it now, we're like, shit, we're 45, man. If we can do anything to go back to that fucking time and just have one more run, give us one more year.
One more 03.
Well, that's what we talk about. And then actually, I was just out in Florida, and I got to go spend some time with Ed Jovanowski, Jovo. I haven't seen Jovo in 8 years, so I got to go spend a couple days with him up there, and we're talking about the same thing, man. It was like that one that fucking got away, that team that got away. Like that was the Sedins were rolling, we were rolling, and it was just I don't know. It just wasn't meant to be, I guess.
So I gotta, I guess,
It's
going back to those
painful for all
playoffs,
of us.
right?
Sorry,
I mean,
just talking about
it was painful, right?
painful
But you had some really, really good, like, pictures in the province. All you and I think it was Willie Mitchell, like face to face, and then you had those rivalries. And then you had, the rivalry with Barrett Jackman that one year where you kind of steamrolled him behind the net.
Destroyed him.
Like, did that get you off? And were you like, okay, I need to find this one guy who I can own in on and just like destroy him?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Berkey in his book said somehow I didn't like to hit very much.
What?
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But
hey, now's your chance to get back at Burke. Let's go.
There we go.
But when I did, no, I love Berkey. Berkey's like my dad, man. We still talk all the time. That's why I say it really hurts the fact that we didn't accomplish anything with that fucking group, because we were really close knit, good team. But no, it was my style. It was, you look back on it now, like my son will look back on clips and all that kind of stuff, and it was a dirty league back then, man. It was like dog eat dog world. You had to hit before be hitting. And remember the era we're playing with, though, man. Like, you had Chris Prongers, Barrett Jackmans, you got Zdeno Chars, like
Scott Stevens.
You got Scott Stevens. Like, you had some of the meanest of the means if you go across. And then when I was younger, it was all those. And then as you get older, then you got Jody Shelley, you got Rocky Thompson from Calgary. Then you had all of a sudden these big, huge gladiator tough guys where it was just like McIntyre from Edmonton was just like, so I went through a pretty, like, in my 19 years, there was a lot of meanness and toughness and different kind of animals that you had to tread water through. So there was some scary nights, some nervous nights, but some fun nights for sure.
No kidding. And you know what's funny? That brings me to a point here, because you are one of the players who has the unique distinction of you were able to play across one of the greatest transitions in the way the game was played that we've probably ever seen in the history, be it from the dead puck era moving into, the no more grabbing clutch era, the change in goaltending to the more hybrid and more butterfly style.
And
what
that
was that
pushing
like?
off rule was the NHL brought it in because of you, I think.
That's it.
Because you know what? It was
The power play was too good.
it was fucking Barry Trotz with
Nashville. I remember that. Was that game?
Oh my
I even know
God.
the defenseman. I think he was a Swede. Finn. One of the he was European. Who?
Timonen, maybe? No.
Kimmo Timonen?
No, it wasn't him. He's too small. It was another little pork chop back there. but it was the stupidest. How do you take a play away that they're fucking doing it to me too?
Yeah.
I don't get it. So what? Just because I'm way bigger and stronger? If anything, I should be rewarded for that.
100%.
And it wasn't dirty. It was just push off, turn, go. Like, it was.
Yep.
But you know what happens? You go back to back 25 power play goal seasons.
Yeah, they gotta.
Then the coaches are going to start whining and complaining and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden they put that rule in, and then it became very soft in front of the net.
Did you take it personally when that happened?
Yeah, I was pissed off. I said, well I think I was more pissed off because I created it.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's like it was like you were leaving a legacy of something that was already, you brought the game to you,
Well, I spent time working on it. I said, how can I get an advantage on some of these guys?
Yeah.
They sit here and they take their sticks and they two-hand the back of the calf. Then the goalie hits you right in the jock. I said, well, then if they're going to have this much fun, I'm going to have some fucking fun too. So
Absolutely.
So then I learned how to properly, strategically, kind of like Shaq in the paint.
Yeah.
Fucking body position, get them off like that. And then, but it was a bummer that went down, because that was a play that really worked.
When they started calling it tight, though, was it a relief to just not have guys water skiing? Because guys would just latch on and go for a ride off of you sometimes.
Well,
like, was
you know what it is? You have to adapt with the situation. Yeah. So every time that something was taken away, I did a lot of internal searching on how can I change the game myself to make myself better and have success. So, like, even in the corner, I played half my career, like they call it the Heisman. I play with one hand on my stick. So I strengthen my left hand and my shoulder as strong as I can so I can grab them and fend them off so I can come out of the corners and get that advantage. Then they started calling that the free hand grab. Yeah. So it was like, then it was like, okay, now you got to get skinnier and faster. So then I lost 25 pounds, tried to get skinnier and faster, and I worked on my speed with a track guy and all that. just to try to keep going on with the pace, try to be on top of that. So it's a lot of work to do. It was internal work that I did and a lot of work that I put in.
25 pounds, was that over the span of one summer,
Well, no, I played at 250, 245, and then I went down to 225 for a while, but then I started having back problems in 2000
all that support,
4, 5-ish kind of thing, and it was getting really, really bad. So I lost some weight because of that and all that. But playing the style that I played, it's gonna get your wear and tear. Well, why do you think Cam Neely only played six seasons?
Yeah.
And he's one of the greatest power forwards ever and all that. It's a very hard position to play the power forward. You can't sit on the outside. You got to be in the inside all the time. You got to be hitting. You got to be fighting. There's so many things you got to do in order to be a power forward.
Yeah, for sure. Can I take you back just a little bit to the pinnacle and the height of your career? You said you were in junior, you were a fighter. You made it to the NHL. Your first team, you weren't really used in the way you wanted to be used. Traded to Vancouver, and then your career took off. Did you ever think that you'd be an Olympian playing for Team Canada? And how was that experience for you?
Yeah, 1,000%. I thought it was.
Awesome.
Hell yes.
You have to have that inner belief. You can call it arrogant. I don't care what anyone calls it.
No, it's awesome.
I call it believe in myself.
Confidence.
1,000%. And then I know a lot of people didn't think I should be on that team, and I understand that. But at the same time, I did deserve to be on that team. I was one of the best fucking players in the world. Absolutely. And I deserved to have that opportunity to go and represent my country. And but unfortunately, I don't know. Our team I don't know what it was. We lost to Russia 1-0 and then didn't advance after that. We had a lot of very good players, but for some reason it just didn't turn out.
So at this, I have to ask because I can sense it coming from you. You just said it yourself. At one point in your career, you were the best fucking player in the world. Is that your biggest regret coming out of your NHL career, that you couldn't get that Stanley Cup? Because you knew at one point you were the best, and Nazen was right there with you as the second best. Is that the biggest regret you have?
I would give any. I didn't even have any really individuals. Every time I had a great season, they'd give it to someone else. I don't know if the voters didn't like me or what.
West Coast bias.
No, Nazi
all the little guys voting. That's why.
Yeah, well, Nazi won the Lindsay the one year.
Yeah,
that's the year I was suspended 10 games, and I still had 85 points. I think I was, 10 behind him. I missed 10 games.
You were right there with him the whole way.
But you know how it is with the voters. They either like you or they don't like you and all that. But that shit I don't care about that kind of stuff. Like the All-Star games, that was fun and all that, but I really didn't care. And that's why I played for so long. I kept on trying to chase it, and I found a good niche in Detroit with a good group of guys, a good system, and then one of the greatest GMs of all time, Kenny Holland, who believed in me. And obviously Babcock there, but a very good team. But I chased it and I chased it and I chased it. I even tried to come back. I had knee surgery, rehab. Then I was like, okay, I think I might be able, because Detroit, we parted ways. Kenny's like, hey, we got some young guys. I said, hey, dude, that's fine, man. Like, I understand it. I get the game. I'm not pissed it off. And I love Michigan. And I said, you know what? So then I rehabbed, got feeling really, really good. So then I went to Binghamton and ended up with the Senators. And kind of like, hey, if I can go there and stay healthy and have a couple good games, I can go up and play with Ottawa. That's because I just wanted to play. I just wanted a chance just to win and all that kind of stuff. But 2 games in, I ended up blowing my knee back out, went home, had surgery. Then I knew that was enough. But I'm
sure you could go back to Ottawa now. They have a pretty shitty team. They probably take you back.
Yeah, they'd sign you.
There are times where I feel like I can come back, but I think it's just for one power play shift.
There you go. A specialist.
You can teach Brady what to do.
Nah, Todd, you be standing in front, and then they call another penalty on you, man.
That's it.
They stayed way too fast, man. I like taking my time coming up. I like looking at the scenery, seeing what's going on. These guys are like fucking zoom, zoom, zoom.
Man.
I couldn't play that game, but it's in a good place of the game right now, though.
Yeah.
Good players.
The fire still burns in that belly. And on that note, I want to ask you about the one who coined that term, the fire in the belly. Tom Larschcast inspired our Larschcast here. And he was talking to us about how he has a good relationship with you and how you were one of his favorite players. Can you talk about that relationship for
I love Tommy. Tommy was He was like the grandpa to our team, man. Like he did a terrific job. How he told the story of the game. I'm sure he already told you there's a time where he made a comment.
Oh yeah.
I addressed it with him, and he kind of put it back on me. But we had that kind of relationship where I had respect for him. He had it for me. But no, just a lovely man. I got to see him when I came back, maybe 4 years ago, and it's like we didn't miss a beat or whatever. He's just sarcastic old guy, and I still chirp right back and all that. But beautiful human being. Vancouver was very, very lucky to have someone work in the booth that long and call someone. He had some of the coolest calls too, man. He made up a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff for me personally that he came up with that stuck out a lot.
Well, what was one of your favorite lines that he came up with?
I think move over, something about a freight train.
Yeah, freight train line. Here comes the freight train. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was cool.
One of the ones he said on our podcast when we had him on as well too, and my dad loves it. It's such a great comment. I don't know if he's ever said it to you before, but he's talking about like the fire in the belly of certain players, and some guys have a fire, other guys have a pilot light. And I think as one of those guys that has the fire in his belly, have you ever heard him say that before? And how does that hit you?
I got to be honest with you. No, I haven't. But yeah, it's well, you have to have it in order to be successful, man. To play that game, it's not a kid game out there. You got to go out there with fear, anger, a mixture of everything. Like to play in the NHL and to be successful and to play a long time, you have to be a little bit loco. Oh no.
Is there, I don't want to put you on the spot here and feel free to decline to answers. Is there a pilot light guy that you've played with in your career that just drove you nuts?
Pilot light. I can say one guy, and I actually like the guy a lot. And it more pissed me off because I actually think he had an extreme amount of talent, like the talent up to, he could have been a really, really good power forward, was Fedorov.
I was just gonna guess that.
6'4", 225 pounds. He can skate. He had a big. I don't know why he couldn't. And he lives in Michigan, so I see him once in a while when he's around here and all that. And we talk. Beautiful, like really, really nice man. Really, really nice guy, but just didn't have NHL.
Do you think it's something to do with like having to live in the shadow of greatness, you know, with his
who cares? Go build your own freaking fire, your own legacy.
Yeah. But everybody compares you, right? I mean, I can't speak to it. I'm just trying to think of what. Yeah,
I don't fall into that trap. Go find your own identity. Like when I was in Long Island, they wanted me to be Clark Gillies. Well, I'm not as tough as Clark Gillies. I think I'm more skilled than Clark Gillies. He won 4 Stanley Cups, so we're not the same. So I'm not about the comparisons. I'm like, go find your own identity and find what makes you burn.
Do you say the same thing to your nephew Tyler there?
I was just going to ask that.
No, Tyler's kind of, he does his own thing. He's a little bit of a junkyard dog, man. That guy works for everything he's got. 2 back-to-back good seasons. Just got his new deal. We'll see where he's placed in the lineup as far as who he's going to play with and all that. Because, you know, if you play with the top guys, you get top guy points and all that. But they're trying to turn things around. But he plays the game the right way. He plays 200 feet. He blocks shots. Stands in front of the net. Tip. Good shot. Very high hockey IQ. So I will say that he did it basically on his own because I was gone away when he was a kid playing. So I really didn't spend much time with him. He did go to the same junior team that I played in Guelph. So I got to keep tabs on him. But as far as communicating and helping out, no, that dude found his own way there. Didn't need my help.
So we're gonna ask you 1 or 2 more questions of ourselves. Then there's some fan questions we want to get through, if you don't mind, and then we'll end it with a fun segment we call Rapid Larsch, just rapid fire.
All
you
good.
Gotta, pick an answer right first off the top of your head there. So the last thing I wanted to ask you myself is, you got to experience when a couple, chirpy, players came into the league, Aaron Kessler and Juice, or sorry, Kessler and Bieksa, Kess and Juice as they call themselves. Yeah. What was that experience like when you were the top dog on the team, and then these young guns coming in trying to find their mark, and maybe rubbing you the wrong way or whatnot? What was that experience like?
No, they didn't rub me the wrong way. I like them. I did. I like guys like that who come in. As long as they're respectful, and I don't know if Juice was.
Still is it?
No. I mean, as far as fearful, I know Kess knows I would chase him down and get him. But Juice was a pretty tough customer, but he might have been a little bit fearful.
He knocked out Fedorov.
Yeah, Fedorov
sure
goes on
did.
top.
That's what ended Federer's career. He's like, didn't want to play.
No, those two, I loved their attitude. I loved how hard they came in, and they didn't give a shit whether it was the top end player or the bottom end player. They just came in, they played hard, they played nasty. They both did tremendous things in Vancouver individually and as far as a team and all that kind of stuff. And you see Juice right now with Hockey Night in Canada. He's just forging his own path. Terrific talker, great charisma.
Yeah,
he does a very good job on that show. Carries that show at times too, and he's got a great sense of humor.
He has no fear chirping Ron McLean there. So
No,
in Vancouver, we love that stuff.
Well, you need that though. You don't want someone to sit there and just be a mute. Like have some character and all that. And then obviously Kessler's down the road from me, so I see Kessler all the time still. And we cross paths during the summer. I go to his beach volleyball tournament and all that, and he's doing well for himself too.
My phone right now. She just wants to get this in. She wants to say lots of love for Bertuzzi. Love the West Coast Express. Thank you for protecting Naslin and standing up to the dirtbags. Who's spamming that mess? I swear to God.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was a lot of work protecting Nazi.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nav, Sat, and Ryan, any final questions that you guys have, and then we'll get to them in the fan questions, and then Rapid Larsch.
Yeah. Who was the biggest dick that you played with, like on the Canucks for like? I mean, you can't say Brad May or you can't say Matt.
Why not?
Cook.
You can say whoever you want.
Maybe Jarkko Ruutu. You played with him, right?
No, I love Roots. I love Mayday. I like Cookie. I honestly, I can't tell you one guy. I'm trying to think even guys who were traded over. No, there's not one guy I can actually say that I wouldn't go for a beer with.
It's hard for them to be a dick when they got Big Bert staring.
Yeah, I know, but you can pretty much tell in a room who's a dick and all that. No, I hung out with everyone, man.
Yeah.
It was a good group. I think having Berkey as the GM, Berkey didn't allow any dickheads coming into the dressing room.
He was I guess he was the one, right?
If you were a dickhead, you were out of there in 2 freaking seconds. So he brought a lot of character guys, good guys, and all that. No, there's actually, you know what? There is no one. And I would say it in 2 seconds, and I can't come up with anyone.
I want to follow up on that.
I got one sec.
Sorry, Nav, I have to follow up on that because it just came to mind.
Yeah.
Talk about the importance of character real quick, because I think a lot of fans nowadays, at least in Vancouver, I don't know what it is, but they seem to undersell that point about the importance of character, even if a guy representing character doesn't have the best skill on the ice. But if you're going through a transition like Vancouver did, why is that character so important to the development and the future of the team? Just talk about it if you can.
Well, it is. You're trying to building a winning attitude and a winning team, and character is everything, man. Honesty, trust, knowing that you're going to battle with someone's going to have my back. And that's why I continuously harp back on how difficult it was that we didn't win in those years, because we had all that. You had Donald Brashears, love the man. Mayday. You had Matthias Olin, Joe Vandowski, Marek Malik. Up front, you had Trent Klatt, the Sedins. You just had nothing but character and good guys. And it was, like I said, it's still to this day hurts that we didn't accomplish anything, because it was actually a group that got along together. And we love Kluch. Kluch is one of the best dudes in the world, and he gets hung out to dry too many times. But we live in a market where it's a very hard market. If
it's only got worse.
You're not good. For some reason, all the trolls come out and start barking, and half them aren't the ones who even bought a ticket to go to the game.
Oh, fuck, that's awesome. I mean, everybody's got something to say, and it's easier to be negative than it is to be positive and support the team no matter what. So
you get more hits when you're negative. That's the problem.
That is the problem. Negativity sells, man. That's why, as an athlete, you have to have a mechanism in you in order to just let everything negative go out, because playing in Vancouver comes with a lot of negativity. It does, man. You got a lot of media, a lot of papers, a lot of beat writers, a lot of TV shows, a lot of radio shows. There's a lot that comes with playing in Vancouver, and Toronto's Toronto's the same thing. Maybe a few people more, but Vancouver at times when it's not good can become become a tough place to play.
We feel that negativity, just trying to represent positivity for the fans. It's crazy, you know. We're not even playing on the ice.
For sure.
So, Todd, you played with you played for two of the probably the stronger personalities, to put it lightly, with Mike Keenan and Brian Burke, right? So maybe
stronger.
I mean, the nice way to say it, right?
Yeah.
What was you said how your relationship with Berkey is, but could you say a couple words about Keenan? Like, how was it playing for Keenan? Like, what's your relationship with Mike, at least when you played?
Yeah, no, Mike, awesome. I love the man. It's kind of, I'm sure you heard all the stories. There's probably 80% that didn't like him. There was a few that really did. I know Marcus had a difficult time with him. It's kind of, you feel bad because if he likes you, you feel good. But the fact that he doesn't like a couple of your guys and you're doing extra bike rides and not getting a race time and all that, or getting a day off when they have to go to the rink and all that and get kind of, but Mike was near the end of his career. I don't know. Him and Berkey didn't, they butt heads a little bit as far as, I think, power. I think Mike was at a point coming from New York, winning a cup, wanted a little bit more power and decision-making in the trades. And I know that the trade that he made for Trevor coming out, me coming in, was one of his. And then he ends up getting me back in Florida too. And then not only did I and him get sidewashed by Jacques Martin, and it was the end of him there. And then it was quickly the end of me in Florida too.
You know, your trade to Florida, did you ever cross paths with Bobby Lou after the trade? And if you had, what did you guys say to each other?
I was just at Bobby Lou's brother-in-law's restaurant, Heritage, up in Florida, who's a very good friend of mine. So
nice.
I know I have not really, I haven't crossed paths with him. He lives in Parkland, where I go play golf there with my buddy who lives in Parkland. But I have not, other than seeing his house, I've never crossed paths with him.
Really?
I'm very good friends with his brother-in-law that owns that restaurant, and spend a lot of time when we go there. He's an awesome guy. Other than that, no, I don't know much about him.
Okay. All right. So I just want to say before, I got one last question for you, Todd, but I was a late bloomer as a hockey fan. I didn't really start watching until I was about 12, 13. And one of the big things that brought me into the game was watching the West Coast Express and the passion that you guys played with. Mostly I just want to say thank you. I'm here largely in part to watching you guys play, but I just have a quick question. If you were to give a piece of advice, knowing what you know about the game and what you've played and seeing it from the outside now, the way it is now, if you could give one piece of advice to a kid starting out his career, maybe in the juniors or getting into the dub or something like that, what would it be and why?
Honestly, I only have one bit of advice anymore. It's have fun what you're doing, because there wasn't a lot of fun a lot of the times, because there was so much damn pressure at that point in time everywhere where I went. Even at the early part, being in a bad situation, then in Vancouver, there was an extreme amount of pressure to win. You live, you die, and you eat, and you breathe that pressure. You go home, and it's hockey, hockey, hockey. You get no outlet, no breather. You can't go to restaurants because people are all over the restaurants and all that. And listen, we love our fans. If it wasn't for our fans and all this, but I'm just saying, I would have enjoyed and loved playing hockey a lot more.
Leave me alone.
No, just even like,
settle down.
Even the practices, just day after day, being down at the rink, just the constant schedule of being at the practice, being at the game and all that. It wears on you after 82 games. And then with the pressure and all that, I really wish I would have smiled more and enjoyed the experience a lot more. But I was so involved and so in tuned for success for myself and for the team that I lost track about having fun. And in the end, the game's actually, that's the most important thing. It's having fun. And it's the greatest game in the world.
That's honestly a really
perfect answer.
Perfect answer.
Yeah,
okay,
thanks.
so we'll just fly through some of these fan questions. I won't get through all of them. And then,
we're good on time. What's the score?
Packers are kicking ass. Don't worry about
it. Are they Nav? Because Nav's a Packers fan. I'm a Saints fan, and we're fighting for the NFC top seed there. So Nav, what's the score right now?
Who cares? Hawks won.
All right.
Who cares?
From zero pucks given, who are your three favorite players you've played with throughout your career? Don't have to be the best, just the guys you've enjoyed with, and you can go as fast as you want. No.
Nazi, Mayday, and Cleary.
Okay. What arena was more lit, Vancouver or Detroit? So when it's full house. That's from at Nuxlife.
Completely different experience. Completely different. Canadian loud, American loud.
Okay.
Old Lewis.
All right.
New Rogers Center. So I'm going to call it tie.
At Cam Cunningham asked the question that we answered earlier. I just want to give him a shout out for giving a question. And the next one here, at the pizza guy, were you a sushi guy in Vancouver? And how does it compare to the sushi in Detroit?
Hopefully it's better.
I would jump on a plane right now and fly all the way to Vancouver to go eat sushi there.
Yeah.
Every time I land, the first thing we do, me and my girl, is we check in the hotel and we go to our 3 different sushi spots. We hit them in a row.
What are they?
Well, yeah, they're great.
That was another question. I'll give the guy a shout out. But what are your favorite sushi spots?
It's the one on Robson, Miko.
Yeah, Mika.
Yeah.
Mika's there. Yeah,
Miko.
Mika's nearby there.
And then the one by the the hotel where all the teams stay at. It's a brand new one on the right hand side.
At YVR?
Yeah, yeah. No, fudge, man.
The Fairmont Pacific Rim, probably there.
Yeah, the Pacific Rim, yeah.
So they have the raw bar there.
There's one on the right. It's a brand new one. It went open maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
We'll figure it out and tweet it out.
That's good enough. That's good
You
enough
know what I'm
location.
gonna do? Hey, I got your number. I'm gonna go back to my phone and I'll
yeah.
send you the thing so you can tweet it out to these people. 'Cause
Okay,
they deserve the business.
Exactly.
At IS Gale 13, did the boys look past the Wild, thinking the cup was in their grasp?
Fudge. Did we look past the
What was the general feeling? Did you feel like you guys had already won up 3-1 there?
No, I think it was a collision of bad bounces and bad mistakes.
Yeah.
That's what it was. We weren't looking past.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That comment, don't buy tickets for Game 6. I don't care what happened. That was the greatest comment of all
Legendary
time.
comment.
No
Legendary
kidding.
comment.
Yeah,
That was wicked. I loved
absolutely.
it.
No
Yeah,
regrets
yeah.
there, okay, Bert?
I
No
loved it.
regrets at all.
Yeah, no,
I said
yeah.
it.
We love it.
I didn't say I said it.
Don't be blamed for it. That's why. Right?
Yeah.
At Zataki or something like that. Do you have any memories? I can't pronounce
Something like that.
Do you have any memories of holding your training camp in Kamloops back in the early 2000s?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Okay, that's good enough.
I'll elaborate. Our training camps were some of the most legendary, fun training camps. We were in Kamloops, we were in Whistler,
Yeah.
and we practiced hard and we played hard.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun.
And then you earned yourself some nice beers after playing hard there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sleeman Cream Ale.
Two similar answers from CR Gypsy 31. Questions and part Phil. They're just basically asking, what's your chew of choice there? Your favorite go-to dip flavor?
Dip. Jesus. I hope kids don't watch this because I've actually.
There it is. Hold on. Let's take a picture of that.
A super white.
Got it. Ace
Citrus
Super White.
flavor.
It was Grizzly Pouch, and then I've been trying to quit for fudge and log. So I'm on this right now. It's great for your teeth, but it's actually making me quit. So kids, if you're watching, don't do what Todd does.
A couple similar questions. So basically asking the toughest player, like the hardest players to play against, and that was from at JRLV_.
Pronger, Chara, Stevens. Trying to think. Lidstrom. Lidstrom was hard because you just couldn't get by him, and I used to run out of my way to try and hit him, and I never got one hit on him in my own career other than to practice on accident.
Right?
Seriously, eh?
He was so elusive.
That's crazy to hear. Like you actually tried to go out of your way to hit him.
Every playoff, every game, I would try.
Wow.
I would say I'm going after him, and I could never.
That's
it was just a
insane.
waste of time. So he exhausted me by trying to go after him.
It's funny though. It's funny as fans, whenever you say, why doesn't the team just go and hit this guy? Just go fucking hit this guy. Hit this guy.
Well, because there's a reason why we're on the ice and you're in the stand.
Yeah, I know.
Because they're actually people that are that freaking good.
Well, and plus, we have Tanev and people early on in Tanev's career had Tanev. Yeah, now he's on the Calgary Canucks. But anyways, they kind of made the comparisons to him where they were like, he plays that same style of game, and I was always like, no way, that dude gets plastered.
Quinn Hughes,
plastered.
Quinn Hughes,
and
and
nobody, dude, it was out there in the marketplace when he first came in.
Quinn Hughes as he's getting older, he could have that kind of an appearance as far as being very elusive.
Yeah.
He has to continue being intelligent with his decision making, with his head, and when he's coming up on the ice, because the game is so fast right now, you can get caught on the trolley tracks without even knowing you're in the trolley tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, but he's just a beautiful skater, terrific hockey player. That was a great pick.
Yeah.
3 more questions from the fans. There's a lot of them, but I'll just ask you 3
That's
more.
all right. I got time.
Oh, you got time? All right, sweet.
Yeah,
So we'll go through these then. Okay. Let's go back. So at Joey Pitts asking, as the guy we got for Trevor Linden, in quotation marks there, was there any initial backlash towards you from the fans, on the street or at around Rogers?
No, you know what? To be honest with you, I wouldn't even have cared. I'm not a person who really. I'm my own person. If you don't like me, you don't like me. I don't give a shit.
Okay, that's fair.
I love my fans. I love people. So it just no, I don't give a shit about that.
So this Jeff Grimes, or at UT Law 97. When you were traded to the Panthers, did you know ahead of time that it was coming, and how did you feel when it happened?
Yeah, I knew it was coming because it was a decision that we made jointly because the situation was becoming a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
And I was unable to. I don't know if unable. I didn't want to. The person behind the bench, I think there was just too much bad blood to continue to go on, and
it was becoming too much of a distraction. Is the best way to put it.
Well, you always choose team over individuals. That's just the rule. So you choose the team over the individual, and trust me, I would have loved nothing more than to end my career and played there. I think it would have been different in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
There was just way too much tension.
That's fine.
I think people can respect that answer.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you know what? Like even
Everybody
in your last
should
year,
respect
you had
that.
70 plus points, and so it's not like you were performing bad.
Well,
yourself,
you know
right?
what it was though, and you know what? Thank you for bringing that up. It was that amount of points and 25 goals. And that was my off fucking year.
Yeah.
Yeah. No kidding.
Exactly. Exactly.
No
By the way,
kidding.
that nowadays gets me 10 sheets.
Absolutely.
There you go. Man.
Yeah.
No, I remember noticing
hands down 10 sheets. I look at that. I'm like, so when I say to you that there's difficulty sometimes coming with playing in certain markets, there's certain markets where it was just like there was just so much going on that what it was just
never enough. And
it was best for both. Best for both.
I'm glad.
Did you have any other options besides Florida?
I actually thought I was going to Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was it was almost, as far as I know from my people, because Gretzky was coaching there, and I have a relationship with Wayne, that was the place that I was going to, and then somehow, somewhere, this is just this information I'm getting. I don't know 100% because I don't trust anyone anyways.
Yeah.
My people, my persons, and all that. That's where I was supposed to be going to.
Yeah.
And then somehow I ended up this way. So, Canuck fans, you're freaking welcome because you got.
No kidding. Because we have broken that trade down to death, like all the way down. It ends at Markstrom now because Markstrom left as a restricted free agent to go to Calgary. But that trade tree is over. Like we got Luongo because of that. Like you can tie Bo Horvat to that. Like, man, we are so. We were sorry to see you go, but we're so weirdly thankful for that trade because it was the catalyst.
It was the same thing for Linden, right?
That's what I mean. Like,
take it back to Linden.
When you got here, you were part of the 2 greatest trades probably in Canuck history. When you came here,
legit.
You had to leave. Like, it's just some of even the Sedins when you came here the first time. McCabe got us a Sedin, so 2 of the greatest trades ever.
You should get in the Hall of Fame as a builder at this point.
We'll start that.
Right? Yeah. Todd the Builder, hey?
That's actually a very funny comment because that's probably the only way I'm ever going to get in.
Hey, man, we'll push. We'll push. I mean, we got like 0.1% pull, but hey.
So, I just want to quickly, because you mentioned that the relationship with Wayne, I have to ask you, so basically, without going into details of anything, but he had your back, is what you're saying. Like Wayne was a good friend to you.
He had my back from the get-go, and I think that's
great to hear.
There was a lot of pressure and heat about the Olympics, and he was running the Olympics, and I don't know if it's taking a bullet. I don't know what it is, but he stuck his chest out there, and
that's great to hear. Honestly,
he's always been my favorite person in the world, my favorite hockey player, and what I think of him as a player, he's that much better as a person. He's that good of a freaking dude, man. And the fact that I got to
awesome.
That's
play
awesome.
again. The fact that that was my hero. I got to play against him, and then play for him.
And your hero had your back.
It's pretty cool. Not many people can say that.
No kidding.
Thank you for sharing that.
And then those idiots that went and stole from his father's house, you'd be ashamed of yourself.
No kidding.
Oh my God.
Right before Christmas too. Disgusting.
Tell us how you really feel about that. Honest, that was just a joke what happened there, but
no kidding.
Anyways, at J Scott, this is kind of a funny one. At J Scott _Honeyman, is it really what it is?
It is what it is.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Like you need to get royalty checks for that, because I swear to God,
that's what, you know what people say now, and they're like, where did that go? It actually came from me.
Yeah.
Hell yes, it did. We were just talking about that before the call.
And the fact that, you know what, that's the problem though, is like with media, social media, and all this kind of. You can trademark that kind of stuff. We didn't know about stuff like that, so you can end up trademarking that and end up making and doing all kinds of stuff and all that. But it was just me saying, well, why you keep asking me, man? Like, it is what it is. What
we're gonna do?
It's the perfect answer.
It is the perfect answer for
so
sure.
We're gonna make some Larschcast shirts with that slogan, and whatever proceeds we make, Bert, you choose the charity. We'll donate to that charity.
Hey, that's a great idea. I love that.
Yeah, we'll do that.
This is a good question, because I went back and watched the clip. Chris _Jordan213 asked, I want to know what was going through your head, Todd, during that Laos versus Bellinger fight when Bellinger took down a giant.
Which one was that one?
When you were on the Islanders, I'll tell you that they're
Ken Belanger.
Yeah, Belanger versus Laos.
Oh, it's scary.
Yeah, it was David versus Goliath, and David won. It
was scary. That's why I tell you, man. Like the stuff that I saw when I first came in at 1920 with the Island. Like we had training camp in Kitchener. Mike Milbury, he brought in 15 heavyweights, and basically it was like, I want to see nothing, but it was fight after fight after fight. I was like, what the fuck am I getting into? It was there was some there was some tough ass people back in that day, man.
That's crazy.
No kidding. Hey, I just want to ask you a question, because in preparing for this, I went back and read some of the interviews that you've done, and I know post-career and near the end of your career, you talked about, losing that locker room mentality, and I know a lot of players, that's like the greatest time of their life, sharing that locker room and enjoying that. Is there anything that you found post-career? Maybe it's going out for a round with the boys or something like that is kind of similar to that, or is it just kind of enjoy it while you have it, because once it goes, there's nothing like it?
That's a great question. Tough one to answer. I think not only myself, but there's a whole bunch. Like I go play on these hockey charity events throughout Canada and throughout the States and all that. So I run into a lot of ex-players. It all happened to the same of us, man. We all had the same story. It just came to an end.
Yeah.
And it was like, what the fuck do I do now? Like we weren't as prepared as these kids are going to be prepared now because of what all of us have gone through. Like you see all the stories of the tragedies and the struggles for all these people and all that. When it comes to an end, we weren't prepared back then. So I had a very difficult time. It was hard. And then I just got into coaching my son. I got that kind of regime back where I was running practices. I had to be at places and all that kind of stuff, but I needed the 1 year off. But the 1 year where I just took it completely off, I basically spent the 1 year in my golf simulator and
hell yeah,
drank and just couldn't figure out what to do. You get in a little bit of a slump, and then I decided to go coach my son, coach him for 3 years, and then I've been following him around playing junior hockey ever since.
Amazing.
We're sure glad to see you on the other side here, Bert, for sure. And it was great. The Larschciders in our group, we were actually at the game where they brought you out on the ice. Okay. And that was, I know that was something that you were nervous about in terms of fan reaction, but we were so proud as Canuck fans the way the crowd reacted to you, because I know as a Larschcast, we know the larger story and we appreciate you so much. But to hear the whole arena as a whole, and I think we can all speak to this, that was a special moment for Canucks fans, and I got to assume it was just unbelievable for you.
Honestly, the
you
moment I remember the most is that moment.
Yeah, me too.
You can't allow 1% to ruin the entirety of my career there. There's only 1% that have a problem and continue to have a problem.
Yes.
Continue to come after me.
That's the truth.
There's 99% of, I get nothing but love when I come to that city. Like it's overwhelming when I come in there, whether I'm coming to the city or I'm going up the Whistler to go skiing and all that. Just the amount of love and support and the fans, how respectful, and the stories they come up and tell me that like they remember this play. I don't even remember the play, but they remember it.
Yep.
And now that you're older, you got time to sit down and talk to these people. So it's been, like I said, man, you can't let 1% ruin the party, man. It was a great ride, a great party, and I loved every minute of it. And like I said, man, one of my favorite places I've ever played for sure.
And that time that you're talking about, like you're spending it here with us right now, like I can't thank you enough for
this is special for us.
That moment.
No, I appreciate
it means the world
that.
to all of us, and
yeah,
I hope it.
Thank you. Well, you guys are the loyal Canucks supporters, man. You got to keep the flame going, man. There's going to be.
We're trying our best, and like I said, the 1% is coming after us hard, and
they are.
You know what?
It's mostly just mostly just TJ though. The rest of us are fine. It's just this.
We're chill. TJ's a real polarizing character.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do what I do out of love for the Canucks, right? So
to be honest, the 1%, I go after TJ all the time just because he's not a really likable guy.
That's mostly just Nav with burners.
We grew up together, Nav. Get out of here.
See, there you go. You said it. It's burner accounts.
That's exactly it, right?
There's no,
all right,
no
burners.
last fan question, and then real quick, rapid Larson, and then we can set you free there, Todd. At M25XO asks, what do you miss most about Vancouver?
Oh, it's the most beautiful city in the world, I believe. You just feel like you're stuck on an island. You got the oceans over here. You got the mountains over here. At the time when I was playing, you couldn't freelance or walk the streets as much as I can now. So just venturing out, unbelievable foodie place. The restaurants are out of this world, man. I've been to some of the most incredible restaurants out there, and just the whole overall experience. But it's just the beauty of it. Being at the hotel by the water, you see the seaplanes taking off. And I was fortunate. I lived in North Van, West Van, downtown, and Kits and all that. So it's just a remarkable, beautiful place. Other than the rain, can take a hike.
All right.
Now, actually.
Okay, so are you ready for this? It's called Rapid Larch. We don't want you to think on this, okay? It's got to be the first thing that comes to your mind.
Well, good thing. You must have made this game after me because I don't think much.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
All right, so first set of questions here. What's the first thing that comes to mind when we say the following names, or when I say the following names? You ready? Okay. First thing that comes to your mind. Naslund.
Gentlemen.
Morrison.
Funny.
Burke.
Intense.
Game 6 against the Wild.
Painful.
Okay. Now, either or for this next set here. Jovnovsky or Oland?
Both.
That's a good answer. Datsuk or Naslund? You're thinking...
Naslund because I had more history with Naslund, but
right.
Hab's one of my good buddies, and he was, outstanding.
Okay. Yeah. Vancouver or Detroit?
Vancouver.
Oh, you better answer that.
Love it.
No, if I didn't want to answer, I could answer Detroit. I live here now, but no.
He doesn't give a shit.
We gave you both earlier, too. You could have gone both.
Right?
Yeah,
that's true.
All right.
Whiskey or vodka?
Whiskey or vodka?
Scotch.
Scotch is a good answer there. Last one, okay? Kess or juice?
Both.
Oh, come on.
There's
no history with you guys. You can be a little more, over the.
No, I can't even be controversial. I love the two both. Like I got, dude, that's what I'm saying though. Like we all got pretty cool relationships together.
I know.
We all bundle everyone in one big pile. But no,
you forgot to ask him Henrik or Daniel.
That's an automatic both. Come on.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, you go both on Hank and Dank all day.
Maybe that's why I'm going both, because Daniel Hendrick.
Hey, so they call you a freight train when you play, but Todd, I got to say, you got a little bit more of a teddy bear to you when you open up a little bit here. So I love that about you. You're an honest.
He's
guy.
like the teddy bear from Ted, though. Like he's just like that.
No, you're just a good guy, and I really appreciate what you did for all the fans here and for us. Honestly, it means the world that you came on to this podcast to just open up about your career as a player. And honestly, I can't thank you enough. I'm gonna go off and on, but
well, you guys, you know what? You guys are doing a terrific job, and keep keeping that flag up there, man. Vancouver's outstanding city, and I see nothing but good things ahead. And by the way, you guys have one of the best coaches in the game. I'm going to continue to reiterate on that and tell you guys,
hell yes,
he really is one of the best coaches. He needs the proper team in front of him, and I can see that they're getting to that point right now. They're making some good decisions. So hopefully they get off to a good start because it's going to be important because it's only 56 games.
Mm-hmm.
But let's hope for some success this year and go Canucks go.
Go Canucks go.
Go
Thank you very much, Bert.
Go.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much, Todd. Take
Hey,
care.
boys.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Todd.
take care,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
All right, so that was Todd Bertuzzi that we just had on the podcast, and now joining us for the second half is our lovely weekly insider with the Larschcast on Sportsnet 650, but here on the podcast form, Stacy Joe Rost of 710 ESPN Seattle. Now, Stacy, welcome to the show. Before I even introduce you, I have to ask you to give us the proper enunciation of your last name because I think a lot of us we struggle on it.
You messed it up
say
again.
Rost and I say Rost, and I don't know where I'm going.
Let it happen.
Can I guess it's
just let it
Roust?
happen.
You
Roust.
say Roust,
That's your
which
guess?
Which is
That's my
fascinating.
guess. That's my
No.
guess.
Your guess is so wrong.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
You tell us, what is it, Stacy?
There's no
It's-
W in it. That's my bad.
It's Rost. It's just
Rost.
like
So
And you
I
know
had
what's
it
weird?
right day one, and TJ corrected me.
Okay,
Then.
so first I
Wow.
thought it was like roast, and then you had it Rost in the beginning, so I thought you were wrong, and then Raja, our producer, corrected me saying it was Rost, like frost, and then
Yes,
all of a
that's what
sudden
it
Ryan
said.
started saying roust, and I'm like, what did you
I don't know. I got
Making
all
me sound
discombobulated
fancier.
on this one. Yeah, no, I started out in the right, and then I got way off track as we
Oh,
progressed throughout the year. So I guess I better apologize about that before we do anything else. I started off okay, and
this is the Larschcast apology to
It's
you.
only been 4
Yeah,
months.
it's true. Although in fairness, I also butchered Joel's name the first time we
That's
had him
true,
as a
that's true.
producer too. So you know,
Stacey, you're here at your home lounge.
Yes,
Color
our
coordinated
office.
bookshelves and everything.
Thank you. Yeah. I
Tell
tried.
us, we'll start off with the Seahawks game and then we'll get into some more fun stuff here. But yeah, just tell us your thoughts on today's game. Are you excited to see that defense coming into form here? I know
Oh, my
Ryan was all
God.
excited about that.
I know. I wrote about it in my own recap. I was like, congratulations if you were one of those fans who I know will be texting in tomorrow. I already know it. And they'll be like, I can't believe you guys were ever doubting the Seahawks. Of course they were going to do this. And it's like, my mistake. When this defense was giving up almost 500 yards a game, I should have definitely seen this coming.
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, but I think that when you are more honest about how bad they were, it makes it even more surreal just thinking of where they've come. That is an uncanny kind of turnaround. Props to Ken Norton Jr. Props to the leaders on this defense with KJ and Bobby. And I'll put Jamal Adams in there as well, even though he's only, I think, 25, helping to take the reins there. I mean, they have had a phenomenal turnaround, kept the Rams out of the end zone for the first time that any defense has done that this season. I think they got 3 field goals, made Jared Goff look abysmal. And I know that he broke his thumb, and I know that they were worried about that, but he was looking like the bad version of Goff before that happened. So it's not like he was on one and firing on all cylinders and then hurt his thumb and was out of it. I think this was a great performance. This was the prove it game we've been calling for them.
Exactly.
And they proved it, right? Like you can't just sell it short now that the game's over.
At the biggest
I mean,
time
they
of the
met
year,
the bar.
too, like heading to the playoffs is when you
Yeah.
But it was close. I mean, it took till the 3.5 minutes left to kind of
That
put it away,
third
right?
quarter
But
stop, though, that third quarter stop was that was the exclamation mark on the win, as far as I'm concerned.
One of my favorite moments prior to this game had been the stop of the Cam Newton stop against the Patriots, and I think week 2, where they just stepped him on the goal line. They ran the exact same play, but I don't remember if it was to the right or left, but they went the opposite the second time they ran it. And the Seahawks recognized the play. They knew they'd seen it before, and they just blew it up. And this wasn't that same play by any means, but it was more exciting. I mean, they had 4 shots from the 2-yard line, and they gained a net yard. It's just fun. I cannot stress enough how big a step forward this team has taken there.
And it did feel like one of those like catalyst moments where you were like, okay, here we go. Because I'll be honest, guys, like we have been really, really uncertain about where this team sits. And it is really cool that whether or not you think this team is going to make a deep run, you have to be a little scared if you play them because they could catch lightning.
Out.
They're not an easy out, and they are catching lightning in a bottle. And we talked about it a couple times on your hits with us that when teams get hot at the right time, they can be scary. Well, I'll tell you, Seattle's getting hot at the right time. But I want to ask you, and we talked about this before we kind of started recording here on the show. You said this was the statement game fans needed to see. But what is the deal with some Seahawk fans? They make statement games, and there's still such a negativity. Like I think you said, like, Russ only had 2 touchdowns. Well, he only needed to have 2 touchdowns because the defense was phenomenal. When is enough with these fans?
So much
I think
nitpicking.
There is. I think it's a mix of two things. I guarantee you that you guys, with any of your respective teams, because I know that none of you are huge KC fans, are seeing this where it's like fans just want every team to be the Chiefs. And they're like, why isn't Drew Brees throwing for 10 touchdowns? And it's like, because he has like 2 ribs left. I don't know what you want from him. And I think they want that with this offense. And it's like, but Andy Reid and Pete Carroll could not be more different in their offensive philosophies as far as what they want. But if you win, you win. And that's what matters. I think that's part of it, that Kansas City has kind of made it tricky for everyone. Even though they had a very slow start today. Yeah, exactly.
Don't get me started on that.
Oh, poor Falcons. But I think another thing, and this is a credit to the culturally, I think that it's such a unique sports media environment in Seattle. Now, I've only ever worked here, so this is biased. It's very anecdotal, right? This is just my opinion. I don't think I could ever be in sports radio in Boston. It's just like, if they lose a game, you have even more people tuning in to say who should be fired. In Seattle, people, it's a bit different. They're a bit nicer. They don't call for people's heads as much. Also, I think it's a pretty smart sports radio audience. Like, you get a lot of analytics folks that join in those conversations. I love football analytics. However, I think that what happens is that some of the people that are at the forefront of those conversations are used to being the smartest person in the room. And it's like people on polar opposites of the like, only watch film tape, get out of here nerds. And then like the, you guys are all dumb, learn analytics people are like just two sides of the same insufferable coin sometimes. And those are the people that are, and those are the people that are never happy with anything on either side of that. And it's like, look, do you know how hard it is to win a Super Bowl? How hard it is to really do it? The best team doesn't even win. Look at Lamar Jackson and the Ravens last year. They were bounced out. Who saw that coming? And I know it can feel frustrating when a team like the Chiefs constantly is leading in all those stats and look unstoppable. But I think it's just, it's being really smart, and it's being a little bit spoiled, honestly.
And it has to come down to like respecting the game itself too. I think sometimes when we see all these analytics or, you know, if somebody who's anti-analytics, like at the end of the day, you have to go back to respecting the game and what it is and what it represents. Everybody's trying to, you know, break down the game and advance the knowledge of the game as much as you can, but at the end of the day, it's still the game, and it's any given Sunday. You know, any team, the Jets can win, which is the dumbest thing in the world.
Twice for whatever reason,
and ruining their lottery chances. But like they upset the Rams. It's crazy, you know. And so it's just one of those things about the sport itself, and hockey's no different. You know, that's why betting on hockey is absolutely impossible, because you know, you're never gonna get the end result. It's gonna go over.
Now, how do you?
It's humans, right? They're humans playing a game.
Humans at the end of the day, you know.
I was gonna say, how do you guys deal with fans? I don't know how it is with your respective fandoms, if there's one you care about more than others, but I think different eras will affect your own like tolerance level, right? Like the Seahawks used to be really bad, so if you're 23. 24, you've only ever known good Seahawks. And so your bar is way higher.
It's very eerily similar to what's happening here in Vancouver because of that age, you know, the people growing up in that same age group there. 2011 was the Vancouver Canucks' best team in history, but they didn't win the cup. And we've had 3 teams make it to the finals and not win the cup. But in this recent era, you know, the 2011 team is still regarded as the best team, even though they didn't win the cup. And because of that, there was a downward trend that we're now just coming back out of. But everybody's holding this, you know, the team and the market to the highest standards, and saying that you have to be excellent right away and not being patient enough to let these players develop. And
they didn't know the hurt in the late 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah, no like, you haven't seen darkness.
Yeah, this is not darkness.
It's exactly the
this
case.
Is not that.
You haven't experienced the pain, and all you've experienced is the glory. And so when you experience a little bit of pain, it's just like you can't handle it. But that's not what being a fan is about. It's through thick and thin, and the ups and the downs. And so exactly kind of it mimics what's happening in Seattle, because Seattle won the Super Bowl in 2013. 14.
Yeah, so the year 14, but the 2013 season. Yeah. And in that year, they had like a reservoir. It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
They had more talent than they needed to win that Super Bowl.
No kidding.
Like they could have had like 5 fewer stars and still won. And so I think people still have this unrealistic expectation of like, we'll just find another like gem in the 5th round. And it's like, okay, you got it. No, of course.
You have no idea what we have.
We haven't been trying to do that since at all.
No.
It's not my job.
Yeah.
That's
It
exactly.
takes a
So
lot more to actually build a roster and
Yes.
keep, the chemistry
Yeah.
and the right mix and match of players. People sometimes just they skip that and they just look at these charts and say put these things together and
Right.
compute it and it should build a winner. But
Yeah.
no, that's not how it works.
Those analytics clowns. Hey, I got to ask you, Stacy, just because we in our marketplace, we talk a lot about West Coast bias teams, whether or not things are dictated from out East and pushed upon us, or we even take it as far as the refs make different calls. And don't get me wrong, I see some of that. So I'm not trying to say this is a conspiracy theory thing. Are we just crying spilled milk here, or is that a thing? Do you guys talk about West Coast bias down in Seattle?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
that's great to
absolutely.
hear.
Yes.
The Seahawks could win the Super Bowl 3 years in a row. Russell Wilson could be on the cover of every magazine and would be like, they're disrespecting us because we weren't given like the first primetime spot. No, I think, sometimes you do the conversation and you're like, am I just doing this because I know that it's happened before? But other times it feels very real. I know you guys have probably felt this way where you're like, wait, but this is real. And part of that's my own personal bias. I worked for another company where they had 28 markets and like 5 of them were west of Denver. So we were an afterthought and they were very focused on New York. And so it was, I was still with that company during the second Super Bowl 49. So us and Boston, we had to produce all this stuff and they were constantly promoting Boston stuff. And I was like, oh, I hope we crush them. And they didn't.
They didn't. Also, just so you know, Vancouver, we had that also, and we did also not crush Boston, unfortunately.
It's so funny,
and we're still salty about
Well,
it.
fuck
Yeah.
Boston.
It's so
fuck
crazy.
Boston.
Seattle
Big-
versus
yeah.
the Boston team, the New England Patriots, and Vancouver against the Bruins. Like the Boston teams just kill us. But
Celtics, everything. They just constantly, they get too much. Too much.
Yeah, it's true.
they don't know what it's like to actually suffer because all they do is they have one. If one team loses, another team wins. And
I
The
have,
funny thing is though, sorry, just like how
Oh.
many people out there don't realize New England is Boston though?
Oh,
I'm sure there's a lot
totally.
of people that don't know that.
that don't don't
Well,
realize that
General-
Canadians, just so
Canadians,
we're
yeah.
as much as
Most
Americans are
Americans.
ignorant
Oh.
about north of the border,
We
a
are.
lot of Canadians are ignorant south of the
maybe that's a
border.
Canadian thing, but
It could-
do a
yeah,
lot of
exactly.
Canadians. I mean, I know you guys are so close to us, so maybe you don't get a lot of it. But I had an Italian professor in college who, just a flex, who he
Low-key
came
brag.
he came to the University of Washington because he thought it was in Washington D.C. and you can just tell he hated being
Oh,
here.
no.
Like, he could not stand being here, and he was like, "Ugh, I'm so over it."
Am I going to see the president when I walk?
What's the
just walk
deal with
away?
Washington D.C.? It's kind of like a thing, but it's not a thing, and
Yeah.
like we don't have anything like that. I guess we have like the Ottawa Senate. Well, they don't have the same rights as the rest of North America. I don't even want to get into it. It's just
is it kind of like the
I went-
Vatican in Rome? I guess
They don't
In
get
a weird
it.
way. Like its own
such
little
a
thing.
weird comparison, actually.
It's like
It is like
Singapore.
the Vatican.
Maybe.
That's interesting. I actually didn't know that they had their own set of laws and rules. I didn't know. About
Well, they don't get the same rights that the rest of the states do, and like I don't know. Anyways,
Really? Wow.
that is a complete left field question, but it's one of
we
those
should go
things that
ask,
always
Wolf
mystifies
Blitzer when
me.
we have
We
him
should,
on.
yeah. He's clearly paying attention to us, old Wolf.
Okay, let's have some fun with Stacy because this is.
I thought we're having fun.
I was just gonna say,
Having a great
have you not
time.
been enjoying yourself
I'm
yet,
so sorry.
TJ?
This is a miserable conversation about the Seahawks, so I gotta have some more fun here. But no, anyways, you know what
We
I
gotta
meant
ask
by
about
that.
Breeze now. That
I
doesn't
mean,
go
that-
well for you either.
Now that we have Stacy on a less professional manner here, a podcast only, no radio, no media involvement here. It's just
Right.
friends, right? I want to
Yep.
ask you some personal questions about how you got involved in
Okay.
media and tell us a story about your own path that you've carved, which it's very successful and it's continued success
Thanks.
here, and you're doing really well, and I think you're growing in this market too. I see you now. You're popping up on different shows now after.
Yeah.
People
starting
love
off
your
with the
hits with
Larschcast,
us.
the Larschcast gave you that
That's
bump, right? No.
Oh, here
That's
we
awesome.
go.
No, but really, tell us the story because I actually we haven't heard it before, and I'd love
Yeah.
to hear it. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know because I completely bombed an interview with another show when I just got really confused about something. So I'm not going to mention it ever again, but that's good to hear.
What interview?
I don't remember. I
It must have
can't.
been
Exactly.
Boston.
Who can
It didn't
say?
happen.
Who can say? Yeah.
Who can? Yeah, exactly.
What interview exactly? How I got started? How my road to where I am?
just your own
Yeah.
path that you
Yeah,
carved and
okay.
people that were involved, maybe that opened the door for you or whatnot.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, I started out, I have no idea why I wanted to get into sports radio. This is a very weird left turn, a pivot
Okay.
from my original plan. So I did not grow up a sports fan. I wanted to major in English and be a writer. No one was like, hey,
I actually read that about you too. Like what type of writer before you move on?
Oh, it's bad. I mean, I was into like, let's do like poetry. I was really good at poetry, like language arts. I was like, can I just do language arts in college and get paid for it? And it's like, no.
You can do it. You won't get paid.
Yeah, no, yeah. An arts major is a tough life.
Although there's a blogger somewhere that is getting paid for that. Probably.
Yes.
1 in a million.
So I went to school to do that, and I actually hated all my English classes. I still majored in it, but I picked up a second major, and it was Law, Societies, and Justice, which is like poli-sci. And you just read a bunch of, part of what I did, you just spend 4 years essentially reading a ton of Supreme Court cases. And I was like, I want to be a lawyer. This is fascinating to me. I love it so much. And so I interned for a lawyer after school, and then I was like, oh, she hates her life. I can't do this. Every day she came in, I was like, oh my God, this woman is so upset. She was wonderful. That's mostly a joke, but it really
always
did
upset,
make me.
but she's a great woman.
Yeah. She was really wonderful, but I was like, this isn't, oh man, she's just making a lot of binders and real unhappy. And so then I mean, this isn't like a glorified version. I was very much that college grad that went back home, lived in my parents' basements, like just totally honest.
Nothing wrong with that.
Love it.
You know, nothing wrong with it.
Same here when I was.
Well, and you tweeted some pictures out. Like I know you and your brother have a pretty hilarious relationship as well too. I saw some of your tweets about that and him with the crab claw on you and stuff too. Hey,
that was your brother or sister? Was that
my sister?
Oh, it was your sister. Sorry, yeah, okay, all right.
But it's Sam, so you can't really tell. Yeah, she's awful. She's such a bully. She grew taller than me starting in 5th grade, and it's never been easy since. It's awful. Anyway, so yeah, I was living in the basement and just decided like I had gotten into sports as a way in college to kind of cope with, like, something to do. I felt very isolated. There were only 2 other kids from my high school that went to college, and we were all at this college. I felt so lonely, didn't know what to do. So I did it as like a crutch, like, okay, this is something for me to do on Friday, watch this Huskies game, or something on Saturday or whatever. So then I was really into it when I graduated, and I just randomly applied at CBS Radio, which doesn't exist anymore. They've merged with Intercom, but they had a local network, the one that I mentioned, that they had 28 markets, and it's heavily East Coast based. So it was a very kind of loosey-goosey organization here when I first joined. So there were a lot of opportunities. Never got on air, but that's where I first like went into a locker room for the first time and started reporting for the first time, doing game recaps, interviews. I was so bad with interviews. It was painful. Like when I think of some of my earliest interviews, I'm sure you guys do this too. When you think of
listen to our first episodes compared to now, like it's horrific.
Oh, mine are so bad.
There's even ours now. We're not fucking pros.
Yeah, we're still pretty bad actually, in all fairness.
I had one interview with Luke Wilson, who's Canadian, as you guys know, and I tried making a joke about is it weird when you go up there and you drive on the other side of the road? And I was being sarcastic, and he just stares at me, and he was like, we don't drive on the other side of the road. And I was like,
swing and a miss.
yeah. Tough crowd. And then you just kind of do the Homer Simpson, like into the bushes. So there was a lot of like, it was bad. I'm sure he thought like, this girl's a total idiot.
Oh, God.
But blonde, I guess.
No, he's Canadian. He's nicer than that. Don't worry. Right?
He is very nice. He's very nice. But I think it was probably something where it's like, sarcasm is not the approach you want to take when you're interviewing players that don't know you, because they're going to think you're serious, and they have 2 minutes, and they're like, there are rules you don't know you can't break. Like, you can't interview players if they go to the podium. So when Richard Sherman was here, he speaks at the podium. So when he's in the locker room, I don't know if this is up there with,
I don't know.
like,
well, I don't know specifically.
Oh, so you can't approach them if they've already done a podium interview.
Yeah, because they're constant. Otherwise, they get asked for interviews all the time. So they volunteer 30 minutes of their time to the podium on like a random Wednesday, and then the trade-off is like, you don't go up to them in the locker room unless you know them. Like team reporters especially, it's like they've covered these guys since they were 22. They'll be like, how's the kid? But I didn't know this, so I went up to interview Richard Sherman in my first year, and he just looked like, yep, no problem, I got 2 minutes. Like, thankfully he was being polite, probably because I was a small, scared looking person. But after I left, one of the PR people was like, yeah, do that. But he was
Hindsight.
He was very polite with it, but
I
I
feel like they should have prepped you for that kind of stuff beforehand.
they don't tell you. I mean,
Oh,
I'm sure
wow.
that's something
They
that
throw you
every
to the
other
wolves.
every other reporter probably encounters that, where it's like, I don't know why it can't just be with sports reporting, but like no one tells you the unwritten rules of covering things. You just have to find out, and then there's this weird like you feel like you're on the outside looking in until you finally get it, which means you feel like an idiot until you finally get it for like the first year or two.
So
We had that with our first show, actually. Like we came on and then they had nothing. The producer like didn't talk to us as we were setting up, and
it was over Google Hangout.
Oh yeah, our first episode was over Zoom,
right?
and all
Was
we
it during
knew
COVID?
Yeah,
it was
like
during
our
COVID.
First
Oh,
show
okay.
All we
on the
knew
radio was COVID era, right? So
Props to you guys.
all
That
we
makes
knew
sense.
is that breaks were at 24 and 54, and that is legitimately it. And the rest of it, we figured it out on the fly.
on our first show, we had a scheduled guest, but the team PR shut him down. Like he's a friend of our show. He's been on our podcast, Chris Higgins.
Oh, that's right.
And so I had to on a whim find another guest. And luckily enough, I was talking to another former player, Darcy Horishak. He just joined us. He happened to answer his phone because he's notorious for never having his phone.
What a beauty.
That was meant to be. He's like, yeah, sure, I got time. He hopped on within like a 5-minute span. I was dealing with.
Oh, that's
It was
awesome.
so ridiculous.
We were flying by the seat of our pants for
But
sure.
see, like you don't know, and then you finish it, and you're like, just tell me, like tell me these things. I'm not like I'll do them if you tell me. I don't want to finish it and have you be like, hey, next time can you do the last 20 minutes differently? And you're like, tell me 20 minutes ago.
Well, shoot.
Well, I think a lot of it is just, they don't know you're going to fuck it up until you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
true.
point too. Like,
Right?
yeah,
'Cause they
they have no
know
idea how
you're gonna-
polished you are.
That's kind of
Unpolished,
crazy to
tarnished.
think about that though. Sad. It's like they don't know you're gonna fuck up, but they give you a lot of opportunities to fuck up. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's the great
But it
part.
kind of
But there
makes
is like
you
a figure it
stronger.
out. Exactly. It's a
There-
figure it
it
out
makes you
mentality.
better.
character.
Like
absolutely,
nothing,
yeah.
I'm sure that you guys have had so many moments where you've gone home and you've talked either to each other or to your families. I've had them too. I've talked to my roommate who's downstairs about this. You come home and you're like, oh my God, I want to peel my skin off. That was so uncomfortable. I said
Yeah.
Y and Z, or I swore, or I did something that I shouldn't have done. And I can't stop thinking about it. And it makes you better over time when you do that like 50 times.
I'm hesitant to even mention this, but
No, you should.
I should. You're right. I should. And these boys will remember too. And I think it was okay because they kind of teed me up. But at one point on one of our episodes live on the radio, I don't know if you're familiar with the comedian Russell Peters.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I used one of his accents in a joke live on the
no.
radio, and immediately after was like, oh no, because
But
TJ
you're
did it
protected
first.
by the 3 brown guys you're with, right? So
And
don't
see, I
worry.
think it was fine because of that, but it was one of those moments where I said it and I was like, oh shit, I'm on the radio.
He has
Oh,
all the-
no.
I was just like,
like-
I don't mind, but there's probably someone that does.
And you can see the
Definitely.
guys were not with their bodies, but with their eyes were just like, stop.
I was
you-
fine with it because I did it first and then Ryan jumped in. At the end of the day, like I still live by like the old school, like just as long as you have
intention.
no,
Yeah.
it's all about the intent. If you're a good person and you're being good and do good unto others, like you would do unto yourself, it's fine. The golden rule and all. But nowadays, it's beyond that. It's like you say one thing, even if it's not intentional, and it can come back in your face and be
Yep.
the end of you. Even it's.
I was sweating.
you have
I
to,
was
like,
sweating.
It's like analytics, right? I mean, we're still humans. I mean, you can grade our shows from week to
Yeah.
week, and the next week's not going to be the same.
Well, and it's kind of nice when you go into an environment and either A, you aren't used to seeing people that look like you. For instance, like I went in and I was like, examples of women in sports I can think of are like Mina Kimes, Katie Nolan. There are many other women that are relevant, especially on the written side of things. But those are the ones where people are like, oh, do you want to be like, Katie Nolan? Do you want to be Erin Andrews? And I'm like, no,
You want to be Stacy.
You want to be Stacy.
You want to be Stacy Joe
Right.
Rost. Rost.
don't do
Stacy
it,
Joe
Ryan.
Rost.
You
Rost
got
as
it
in
eventually.
Frost.
That roust out of here.
Rost as in Frost. I
But
got
you
it. I
see-
got it.
You see a lot of that even with we had another girl that worked with me who no longer does, and she's fantastic. We're really, really good friends, but we're very different. And you would constantly have people, and we do different jobs, and you'd constantly have people comparing us over anyone else. But one of the things that I'm sure you guys have run into this too, starting when you're all friends talking to each other. So you're like, I'm used to speaking naturally. I'm talking like I normally would to my friends.
Yeah.
it's something that I think sometimes gives you an advantage if either, like I said, you're not used to seeing people that look like you, or you're taking an untraditional route, because there's no one in the back of your mind that's saying sound like this.
Yeah.
And you have to be like this. You can just be exactly who you are. And even though it makes it harder for people to embrace you sometimes, it also, you know, makes you more unique and easier able to be yourself.
Yeah, I think that makes complete sense, because I mean, for us, you know, other than Ryan, you know, the Nav and TJ and I.
Friggin' Ryan, man. Hey,
I mean, you have a background in, you know, music and talking on a mic and things. That's what I was getting at, not the fact that you're white, right? But,
oh, okay. I thought we were going a very different direction there.
You have experience on a mic.
Cool.
The rest of us don't, right? So this is all new to us. We had to get these friggin' mics from Best Buy just to make sure our voice is projected properly, and that type of thing. We just got to go with it.
Yeah, like
and
we
just,
had
to
to
make our mistakes.
Experience ourselves just starting off as a podcast. But what we did differently than other people who would be in different rooms in their own homes, we actually got a studio.
Yeah.
And we invited guests to our studio, you know, back when you could actually hang out.
Right.
And it led to initial success because it was a more homey environment. Like people could actually, you know, respond and
a round table,
interact with each other, and you can read each other's emotions physically in the presence there. So it actually was more fun that way too. And then obviously when the pandemic hit, it was a bit of an awkward shift for a lot. Like this was before we got on radio. We were thinking about what to do. We took a break. And Zoom all of a sudden blew up. I wish I invested in the Zoom stock there earlier, but
what was I thinking?
No kidding.
And
the right one.
And then we started doing Zoom, and it was just weird. Like it just, you know, but now it's like we're used to it, and
there's a give and take on Zoom that you don't like. It's way easier to talk over each other on Zoom, and you have to like really be cognizant of the give and take.
That's a good way to put it, because if you're not cognizant of it, then it's like you're constantly interfering with somebody's train of thought, and then if they want to go back and finish the train of thought, you can't, because your conversation has shifted a different direction. But
that's I cut you off to say that mid-conversation too.
I was being cognizant of what you were saying there, and
that's the example right there.
Interjected at the right moment. But anyways, okay. I want to ask you, Stacy, what's like one personal experience that you've had that you always remember from the locker room, besides the, you know, those awkward ones? What's a really like fun or really like a memorable one that you look back on and you're like, I love that moment, or that I'll always remember that moment?
I do have one that I keep going back to. It's more of like it's not funny so much as it is something where I thought, wow, that was like a really positive exchange that I think has altered my own career. So I've mentioned this before, but after my first year, I hated every single interview I did. And this was when Doug Baldwin was still with the Seahawks. So this would have been 2015. I think it was the 2015 season.
Yeah, more years before,
yeah.
Before
And
took over his spot.
Tyler Lockett came in and ruined everything. And then DK Metcalf came in.
He's the Ryan of the Seahawks.
Totally. Exactly. I was going to say that actually.
Yeah, I know. I just thought it'd preempt you there.
And I went up to him at the final. So on the final day of locker room clean out, you go up and you, maybe to the players that you interview more than some others, you'll say like, hey, you know, hope you and the wife have a good summer. Like, thanks so much. Because you'd use them for a lot of quotes. Like I would go up to Doug Baldwin. I interviewed Luke Wilson quite a bit, Doug Baldwin. There are just a couple guys you go to more than most because they're usually willing to talk more than most, and you end up kind of leaning on them for a crutch a little bit. So you basically say thanks for letting me do that. So I said, hey, I'm probably like 24, 25 at the time. I was like, hey, I know I asked a lot of dumb questions. Thanks for being really patient with me. You've been awesome this year. I've really appreciated it. Enjoy your off season. And then I just walked away. And then like 30 minutes later, I'm standing in the middle of the locker room, and he comes up, and he doesn't like pull me aside, but he kind of like stands next to me, and he was like, hey, I just want to let you know that you were totally fine. You didn't ask dumb questions, and don't apologize for being here. And he was like, I know that as a woman, it's probably really difficult to be in this kind of environment, but I've never thought anything other than like you were professional, and basically being like, hey, keep it up. And then
such a great story.
He's so fantastic. And it wasn't like a weird kind of like anything inappropriate. It was just someone else coming up and saying, hey, when you said this to me, I picked up on something that like I personally wanted to correct. Like I wanted to tell you,
Wow.
don't panic. Like don't apologize for asking questions. And I've never forgotten that ever.
That's unreal.
It's so fantastic. And I honestly,
a lot too, I mean.
exactly. And I do not think I would still be in this profession, at least not confident in this profession, had I not had that interaction. Because that first year was tough. I mean, I was with a company where I had no other peers that were there. There were many days where I would like be on the verge of tears heading home because you had an awkward interview or you messed something up or you felt like it just wasn't working out and you're like, what am I doing here? I'm such an idiot. That was like career altering for me. And I think one of the better moments that I wish more people saw from athletes. Like I'm sure you guys experience this, is people think like, oh, athletes are jerks, or I've said this to you guys, that people think that my worst experiences as a woman in sports are from athletes, which is not true. It's from the men working in sports or fans.
So I wanted to ask you about this, and I know it's a bit of a sensitive subject, but I kind of look at this a little bit differently. And I've talked about this on previous episodes where I actually grew up in a household where I had a stay-at-home father, and my mom had the hustle and got out, and she was in the field of education and was a trailblazer and really blazed a path for women to be able to do this, and has since gone back and helped other women get into the field.
That's awesome.
And I'm intensely proud of her for that. It's one of the single greatest things that I have in my life, is being able to have that, draw from that experience from her. And I just want to ask, how meaningful is it to you? And sorry, this is a really serious question, but it's important. I really wanted to ask it. To be able to, like you say, be a forefront in women in media, in sports, and to be able to provide an opportunity for young women coming into this. And I know you take that very seriously. How important is that to you, and how special is it?
It's really, really important. I mean, there are women that came before me. I mean, even ones that I work with, Shannon Dreyer, who covers the Mariners for us, dealt with a lot that I never had to deal with, because she got into this 15 years before I did. And then women before her that dealt with more, because they got into it in the very early 80s. And it was just, there were times it was a nightmare. So I don't know that I've gotten to a point in my career where I've had any women who were younger say like, wow, I really looked up to you. Like, I feel like I'm right at the verge of that generation where it's like in a couple years, there might be someone that's like, oh, I appreciated you being on there. But I think I'm both very, very proud of that, and also very appreciative of the women who came before me. But also you're weirdly paranoid about all of it, right?
Of course.
Like, there are times when I'm like, I want to make a joke about a reality TV show I just watched because I think it's funny in this moment. But if I do that and I'm the only woman on our station in the lineup, am I setting anyone back? And what's really unfair is like, you should be allowed to be yourself. And
that's your personality. Absolutely. But I get what you're saying. Like, it could set back the idea that every woman is watching Desperate Housewives or you know what I mean? Like, and there's like a stereotype attached to it.
Yeah, I think
it's so unfortunate. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's crazy. That is the fine line that you're walking, because you're basically walking between a rock and a hard place. Like, in one aspect, you've got yourself established now in the sports world, and you don't want to like lose what you've built yourself up to be. But even a harmless comment, just being yourself, can be taken or misconstrued against you and work against you and start taking away some of that hard work you've done for yourself. And it's unfortunate. That's the reality of the world we live in, but it shouldn't be that way. You should be able to, it should be based on your work and hard work ethic and your merit, and just actions speak louder for themselves. And if you want to make a joke, it should be taken as a joke.
That's the thing. It's people's own stereotypes about what that says about someone. Like, if you think after I've gone on a week of the show and laid out all these stats about this team and gotten you ready for this matchup, and then I say something about The Bachelorette, which just concluded.
She got engaged too. By the way, as many guys watch The Bachelorette as girls do. Like, don't even get it twisted. We're just shy about it, and it's easier to that's the thing that bothers me too. Is that there's so many there's so many male closet Bachelor and Bachelorette watchers.
But I definitely don't watch it.
But I have a lot of friends who are married, and they say, "Oh, I have to watch The Bachelorette because my wife's."
Oh, they love it. They love it. They love it, and that's the thing. Like,
that's a lie for sure.
that their
I'm
wife is
such
watching.
a-
It's like, that, if you like it, you like it.
But
you
so,
know? Just
Stacy,
say
what
you
were you
like
saying
it.
to finish your point though? But
Oh, I was just gonna say
Yeah,
that
sorry.
that's on people for if you ignore a week of someone saying, or even with you guys, like if I sit here and say for an hour, hey, here's the preview that I have, and then I make one comment and you think you're an idiot, like that's your own stereotype about what someone who likes that thinks. And it's unfortunate if you're thinking, well, this is a traditionally feminine show and I associate femininity with being an idiot. Like that's your own weird issue.
Yeah, it's your problem.
Of course. Is it stressful that the threshold, and I mean, maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but it seems like the threshold for a female broadcaster in sports for error the margin for error is a lot thinner. Does that get to you?
Yeah, I think it keeps, I wonder if it
dumb.
often keeps women from being as quick with things as they could. I mean, even little things like say it's the draft and you want to be able to say, they don't do this anymore, but reporters used to have like a 45-second head start because they would have the live feed as opposed to the television feed. They've since changed that, but say that this was still a thing. Say that you want to tweet out, hey, the Seahawks have selected Jordan Brooks out of Texas Tech. Well, now I'm like really paranoid. I got to make sure that I'm saying, okay, Texas Tech, and it's Jordan with a Y, and then like make sure I do this. And it's little tiny things like that. Every reporter is careful, man or woman. It's not like male reporters aren't. But I think there are times when you either slow yourself down in what's supposed to be kind of a quick environment, or when you don't ask a question because you're worried it's stupid. And then of course the next guy to go asks it and you're like, why didn't I just
And it's fine when he asks it, of course.
It's totally fine.
Even if it's an insane question. Like if the guy asks it, it's like, oh, that's fine. It's just a silly question. He'll do better next time.
Well, like I had an interview, so I went around the locker room. This is in maybe my first or second year. I went around the locker room and I was asking players. We had this player that came in who had a really weird job, like UPS or something, before he was brought in and signed to the practice squad. And so I was going around saying, what's the worst summer job you've ever had? And that's the question I had for players.
Local zoo?
Huh?
Local zoo?
I have worked at our local zoo.
You worked at a local zoo, right?
I did.
We got to come back to that. Sorry. Okay.
But I finally got to Jimmy Graham, who never did interviews. And he said that he worked on a pig farm when he was younger. And he put on like 15 pounds of muscle because the sty thing broke. So he had to use a wheelbarrow to feed the pigs multiple times a day, every day. And he like beefed up. And I was like, what a cool story. And then someone told me, maybe you should write some more serious things because people won't take you seriously if you write that. And so I didn't publish it, and I never wrote it.
Story.
It's a great story. I still have the sound. He was fantastic.
Competitor who told you that, or somebody above you, like a
someone who had been in the industry. Ironically, or coincidentally, it was a woman, but I think she was doing the same thing with a lot of self-censorship.
She's very protective.
You're trying to help someone. Like I truly, genuinely believe, because I know this woman. Yeah, and I think it was very much from a place of saying, I've been here before, and trust me, like you want to make sure that people take you seriously before you do a fun piece. And what's sad is I get what she was saying, but
that's so sad. Like
it's sad.
Yeah. Well, because then you lose the life. You, like you say, you lose that personality of what makes you uniquely you when you're just trying to conform to this mold of what you think is acceptable.
I think we're
cliches then all the time.
I think we're turning a corner though as a society. I do think that I'm not sure we're at the edge yet, but we're getting to that point where that threshold where it's now not as big of a deal and you can be you and maybe, I mean, I don't know.
I'm so glad you agree
Pacific
with that,
Northwest,
Stacey.
maybe they're a little bit, further along in that regard, but
probably
in places like Boston and whatnot. But
no, I think that's
Boston.
true too. Take a look at just when you have some time, look at the social media feeds for all, like, let's use the major sports, for example. And just look at the way the content has changed just in the past like year since the pandemic started. And they are so more focused to being socially inclusive, and even the style of their social media has changed, right? It's more about in your face, quick, what people like in front of their face, not what young men like in front of their face. It's just what anybody likes, right? So it's like all this TikToks and all these Instagram videos and Twitter and things, right? So it's changed, it's changing, and that if you're going to social media, there's a lot of women that can play a major part in that because, that they know how to influence the market in different ways, right? So that's very important.
Yeah, I think other athletes have played a big part too. Like, I think it's been so helpful to have a younger generation of athletes come in. And I don't mean young like 22. I mean like Kobe Bryant would tweet all the time about women's hoops, but also Bobby Wagner is a huge Storm fan locally and has tweeted about them and gone to their games. And I think it's meant a lot. LeBron James also does this. I think that also does a lot. It sucks that it's down to like men to be able to influence other men and say, no, take this seriously. But I think it has been telling that some of the best, most powerful athletes in the world, LeBron James, doesn't feel like he's not manly by looking at female athletes and being like, she is at the top of her game. This is insane. So much respect for her. And meanwhile, there's like this random dude that's clowning on her. And I think it's meant something to have some of those male athletes publicly support, you know?
Yeah. It's well, I was just going to say, you know, I don't know if you know this or not, but we're huge hockey fans here in Canada. It's kind of a bit of a secret. And there are two tournaments that I look forward to. One of them we get every year and it's happening right now. And if you don't follow it, Stacy, try and watch the World Juniors Hockey Tournament.
You'll learn to love hockey.
Because these boys are playing with an absolute passion, the fire that they play with. So that's the one tournament. But the other tournament that I look forward to on a 4-year cycle is the Women's Olympic Tournament, because it is fantastic hockey. It's a slightly different game, but the pace, the energy, the skill that those women play with, you know, and I don't think it gets nearly enough credit, but I would encourage, and I just want to, you know, anybody that watches this podcast, watch a women's hockey game, because I tell you, it loses nothing in translation from the men's game. It's slightly different, but it's phenomenal. And that's the thing. People just seem to think that it's not an equal product, but I would argue it's better. I love watching the women's.
Well, it comes out of competition. Like the game has this, you know, fundamental same rules, but if the competition is there, that's what people look for in sports. It's not one team or one player rolling over.
Exactly,
and the passion.
Two competitors or multiple competitors who are on an even playing field. That's the basis of sport, right?
Exactly.
If there's no competition, it's not worth watching. We just witnessed that with the World Juniors here. Like, you know, Canada just demolished the German team 16-2 at the end of the second period. It was 10-1. I stopped watching. I was just, I couldn't do it. Like, I felt mercy for the Germans, which I guess maybe we shouldn't feel mercy for the Germans.
yeah, that's a phrase you want to be careful with.
But it is what it is, right? But you know, I think
cut that one out.
Well, we'll get Gulu to edit that one out.
No, we're not editing that out. Keep it in here, okay? Ryan, you mentioned the zoo thing. I have to ask, what were you were a zookeeper? What
did you do at the zoo? Were you like cleaning monkey poop over there, or like
or something?
I wish.
Which zoo was this?
You wish? Oh no!
It's the Woodland Park Zoo. It is in downtown. It's North Seattle.
Been there.
Yeah.
It's okay.
To the Woodland Park Zoo.
I have, yeah.
It's good. It's fun. You know what? It's missing some aquatic features though.
Right.
It's got a lot of the land mammals on lock. It has not secured the beluga whale. It has not secured the polar bear. I think that would add to my experience. But no, I worked at the front gate, which is people come up and buy tickets and complain about how expensive they are.
Right. Anyway.
And then you sell tickets. And then I worked the carousel, which let me tell you what'll humble you. Working a carousel at a zoo in the summer for like 10 hours.
Oh,
God. Such a straight. And then the other one was the dino exhibit. And it's all day you're just dealing with people asking why things are so expensive. That's your entire job.
Like a
single day.
Horrible job. How long?
I've never been to the dino exhibit at the zoo. Wait, isn't a zoo living real animals? Wouldn't that be more like a museum?
It was you know what, I think it's a traveling exhibit, like the bodies exhibit, but it's more tailored for kids, where they have animatronic dinosaurs and they set it up in one of the like gardens or something that this zoo has, and it's like $3.
What happened?
Any cool back?
No, talk about the carousel. Why was that a horrible experience?
Oh God! First of all, you have the carousel music, which is awful, but also this carousel it's period.
That in itself is awful.
It wasn't like playing Drake or something. And then that would be great. And then the other thing is that it would only take coins, so people had to, by people I mean parents, tired parents
had to make change.
Screaming at them, had to go take their money, put their money in the form of coins only into these little like old fashioned, like, you know, when you would go to like a grocery store or a bar or a tavern when you were little or an adult, and you put a
Yeah, when you go
quarter
to
in.
the tavern as a kid, I totally remember.
No, my dad was a bartender, so
Okay.
Fair enough. We didn't have that same experience, so a little different.
right. But you put the quarters in and then you push it and bring it out, and it has.
Yep.
So, anyways, it's this old-fashioned thing.
Yeah, like the pool tables at bars.
Yes.
Pool tables, yeah.
So then it would give you gold coins.
Oh wow.
And they had to pay with those. So these machines, because they're probably from like 1920, would break down all the time, and parents would come up and they're on their last, like they're done, and they're like, "Can I just give you $5?" And I'd be like, "I'm so sorry, I can't." And then one day, this guy came up and he was being a little irritable, and I was like, "I don't know what to tell you."
Oh, you gave it a little sass back, right?
Yeah, a little sass back,
Yeah. He
And
did
that was
tell
the
me.
agency worked at this.
And that was the end of your tenure. Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's ask a few more questions about football. We'll turn it back around to football before we go, because I do have some actual questions I wanted to ask you about now that we see the playoff picture here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised by any teams that are in position to make the playoffs here on both sides of the coin there,
Dallas,
AFC and NFC?
Don't say the Jets.
And what do you
The
think?
Jets are in this.
What do you think are some of the bigger storylines of the football season this year?
Ooh, that's good. That's good. I think, am I surprised by any? You know what? I'm not surprised anymore because they've been on a nice pace, but I'm just surprised as a whole with the AFC East behind New England, how that kind of panned out.
Yeah, the Dolphins and the Bills.
The Dolphins and the Bills
Crazy,
were fantastic and really surprised me. And I think, in fact, we gave the Seahawks a hard time because their defense was so bad, and then their best performance was that Week 4 game against Miami, and we were like, it's the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Now looking back, I'm like, they swept the NFC West, and also they're pretty dang good. We did not give them enough credit.
It does paint a more wholesome picture. It's kind of funny, yeah.
It does. I think, no huge surprises. I mean, I think we all thought like Tampa Bay is going to be in here with Brady and,
what about
Aaron
Pittsburgh?
Rodgers. Pittsburgh falling off was surprising, although they got back into it. Did they win today? They kind of came back.
I didn't see the final. I know Roethlisberger had a slew of fantasy
funny?
points,
I actually
though.
didn't even, because it's funny when you're not in fantasy, you kind of pay a little
I know
less
you
attention.
fall off.
Yeah,
This
right?
is where we all admit that we clearly lost our fantasy leagues.
Yeah, oh,
That's-
there you
we're
go.
all
I
done.
was in two
We're all being
semifinals.
honest here.
I had two teams with McCaffrey on the roster. I made the two semifinals. And if McCaffrey was healthy, I would have been in the finals, and I probably would have won. But I'll stop talking about that.
Always
That's
an
okay.
excuse,
The
eh?
Steelers
You know
did
what?
win.
I was I didn't have a lot of faith in them, but I was hoping Houston would be better because it feels like they're wasting a lot of what they have with Deshaun
they're
Watson.
wasting-
That is a great, yeah.
It's so true.
It's so
I had
bad.
their defense today. They got minus 4 points.
Okay, so
I had Watson, and he was pretty good today.
Oh,
But
so Sat, you lost you were in a final. Where'd you sat?
Oh, I was like, I hadn't lost a week in I think I won 8 or 9 straight weeks until today.
Wow. Who's
Yeah.
your quarterback?
Rodgers. So he's
Okay.
doing well.
yeah, that'll be okay
So you
then.
still
that'll be
lost no
fine.
matter
Yeah,
what?
that
I
checks
got
out.
freaking demolished.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You have Derrick Henry too.
Whoever had
Hey, Henry's
Brady
having
today had a
bad
hell
week,
of a
isn't he?
day.
Yeah. Is he
Yeah.
doing, I didn't even check the score for the game today. We were doing that other podcast. But
Did you watch that Brady game, by the way,
Oh,
Stacy?
Wow, 40 to 14.
I watched a little bit of it. So I was with my stepdad and my mom for the holidays, and he really likes Arians. For some reason, I don't know why. He loves Bruce Arians, and so he's been watching the Bucks this year. Was I surprised? I wasn't surprised. It was a fantastic performance by him. I feel like the narrative I had kind of bought into, because I frankly didn't know a ton about the team, was Bruce Arians wants to air it out and Brady can't do that anymore. So I was thinking, okay, maybe that'll be their fatal flaw, but that didn't matter at all. Like
Brady can still air it out.
he
Holy
can still
jeez.
air it out.
That
So-
diet that Giselle's got him on. It's like,
That's exactly right. It's 2 strawberries a day, and it's just enough sugar to really get you going.
Well, he's got that. We've talked about before. He's also got that super crazy supplement guy too. Don't forget. I
Yeah.
mean, that guy's just making magic happen over there.
He's gonna fail a freaking drug test then.
I can't even imagine. Like, he's
I don't
like right up there with Trump's doctor that does his
no, but I
physical
don't
every
think
couple of years.
Tom Brady gets tested anymore. He's beyond that
Yeah.
status there.
Yeah, no,
he
he's cool.
crumples up. They put the list on his thing that's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you're due," and he's like, "No."
They check the
noticed-
pressure.
I was gonna,
of the
they
balls
check the
and
pressure on the. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say, yeah, they check the pressure on the footballs, but that's about it.
stuff. Oh, I didn't say football. Yeah, football. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last,
No, but
last,
I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
I think I like overall the way the playoff picture has come together. I thought we'd see the 3 NFC teams, but I'm not really sure how it's going to work out. The bottom part of that with the Bears, the Cardinals, and the Rams all kind of vying for it. And yeah, in Washington is interesting to see what happens there. Dwayne Haskins, by the way, holy cow, what a crazy story.
Well, there you go. So good, perfect segue. So we'll start off with that. Just give us to end this here your craziest storylines of the NFL this season. I know we still have one more week to go, but it's pretty much done anyways. But
it might be Washington. And that's a recency bias, but the idea that Dwayne Haskins went to a strip club after losing. So I don't know if you're trying to like get your mind off of it, or if you're celebrating like, oh, I played 2 complete quarters. That's cool. Went to and then claimed
photos though, like in your crew.
Ooh, you got to cut that out.
Yeah, no kidding.
Get rid of those.
Yep. That's how you figure it out. You got to do the
thought that you
Tyrion
wouldn't be able to
thing.
recognize them because it's kind of like to the side, but it's not.
But then they're all wearing
$200 with
Dwayne Haskins
TMC.
jerseys.
Yeah, right.
A couple bad apples in that
With
crew. But
Dwayne Haskins.
But the real storyline is they shouldn't have been doing that. I mean, anyways, but
I think it's been 2 quarterback controversies. One in Washington with Alex Smith having an amazing comeback story, and then Dwayne Haskins just hurting himself along the way, kind of getting chance after chance to come back into it, going to a strip club. And then today being benched and then leaving and not being corralled by the PR staff. Like he could not be stopped. And the PR staff was like, we don't know where he is. Like, what are you doing? And the second
time's up
is
for him in Washington, I think.
1,000%. And the second would be the quarterback controversy in Philadelphia. Them kind of getting themselves into that. And then the drop off that Wentz had is itself its own storyline.
I read a tweet talking about it. The Eagles used to be so like dreadful to watch when Wentz was quarterback, and now they're fun to watch again with Jalen Hurts. Like it's crazy how much of a difference he makes just energy wise, and his talent alone. You know, something went wrong with Carson.
Hello. Teach had that written down on his whiteboard beside him, like highlighted, underlined.
I always bug one of my Eagles buddies. I always use that line on him, like what went wrong or something went wrong, you know, when they lose.
Yeah.
Well,
how often
won,
do you laugh
him.
before you finish that line?
Every single time. That's my downfall when I tell jokes. Like I'm already laughing at the joke. Like I just can't help it because, you know, I'm just like an uppity guy, right? But
right.
And so I'm always laughing before I finish the delivery. And half the time people are like, "Wait, what?"
You're like, never mind. It hit its target.
There's no
It doesn't even
punchline.
matter
There's
to
no
me. Like if I
punchline.
make myself laugh, I'm happy, right? Like
You know, TJ, just as a side note here, one of the things you want to talk about immaturity. I went to electrical school at BCIT for my electrician's apprenticeship, and there are 2 different types of transformers in electrical.
The Autobots and the Decepticons?
I wish. It's better than that. And let me just see. I'm going to gauge your reactions here. Intermittent duty and continuous duty. And let me, thank you, Stacy. Every time the teacher mentioned continuous duty and intermittent duty, I was like, hear that? So T, you're fine. You're way more mature than me, TJ. But clearly, that was I don't know if it was a pity laugh, but I'll take it.
No, I liked it. I still laugh at any 9-6, 6-9 score jokes. I mean,
Absolutely.
without fail. So
absolutely.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Stacy. This was really fun. I'm glad we did this.
And
actually.
strong.
It was
Appreciate
a
it.
nice little change of pace from what we normally do on radio there.
Thanks,
And I think we'll be back next week on the radio. I don't know yet when we're switching to Saturday. I think it's gonna be the start of the hockey season, so we might have one more Sunday with you.
Okay.
Going forward, heading into the playoffs, we'll be able to do the game day previews actually, which will be kind of neat.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I guess they're more fun to talk about because in worst case scenario, right?
Oh, there's
Wanna
so many
talk about
things
the
you can talk about. You can say what you think is going to happen. Even if you don't
We
think it's gonna
can
happen.
wildly guess.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
Let's hope the Seahawks go as far as they can until they play the Saints and lose, right? So that's
exactly
it is
right.
what it is, right?
Okay, settle down. You know, and I just want to say, Stacy, thank you. You know, this is our first year being on air and doing the radio show, and I know we got a chance to thank you on air on Sportsnet last week, but thank you so much. You bring so much value to our show, and honestly, we have such a fun time laughing and joking with you.
It means a lot that you
it really does. You know, I mean, to say that we have somebody from ESPN coming on
It
our
gives us
show,
credibility.
it really, when I say that to people, it's a wow moment. It truly
but
is.
beyond that, just the way
And then
your
the way you
natural
carry
rapport,
yourself.
like with us, and the way you carry yourself, like Ryan just said, and just how you're very like professional, but you're also entertaining and engaging.
Just fun.
And you've been really supportive of us.
Oh, thanks guys. You guys have been so awesome. Yeah. It's seriously like I rarely look forward to interviews are fun, but this is one where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to talk to the guys later. Let them know what's up. We'll obviously touch on Drew Brees. I got to make sure I follow the Saints. Yeah, exactly. What the Packers do, what the Saints do, what the Seahawks do. Let's go.
Yeah. Those are my big three now too.
It means a lot to hear that, though. Stacy, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
This has been fun.
So all the best. Hope your holidays were great, and
Happy New Year. We'll see you next year.
I think that's right. We're gonna see you after the.
Hopefully, 2021 is a better year than this crapshoot of a year.
Knock on wood. Don't speak too soon.
Fingers crossed.
It won't be too hard to top this one, I think. Right. So.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Take care. Have a good night.
Take care.
Bye.
So that was the Larschcast special episode 44 for the Todd Bertuzzi Freight Train there, but also featuring Stacy Joe Rost of 710 ESPN Seattle. My name is Tej, and I'm signing off here with Ryan and Sat. Nav took off a little earlier. Holiday season, after all, he's got 2 kids now, so we're probably not going to see.
He has to cook.
Future.
Yeah, he doesn't sleep anymore.
So as always, give us some love on social media. Follow us at Larschcast on Instagram and Twitter. And give these boys a little bit of a follow too, and myself as well. We're always on the profile page, so just click our names and follow along. Now for the Bertuzzi contest, I know a lot of you guys are excited about that. We'll put out an official tweet for this episode, so you won't even need to know by now. But if you do, wait until this moment to understand how to enter. Retweet the episode link. So when we drop that episode, this featuring Todd Bertuzzi and Stacy, retweet that tweet itself. Follow us on Twitter, and if you're on Instagram, I think it says reply to the comment section of that post and share a comment about the episode, or even tag a friend, whatever it is. Just follow the instructions on either social media app, and you'll get an entry ticket into this awesome contest where you get a personalized autograph message from Todd Bertuzzi.
Can I win?
No,
so I can't enter the.
You can't enter the contest.
And
that's a bum rap, man.
Anybody that you know cannot win.
I feel like that's just intentionally.
And
personal.
TJ, anybody that you know cannot win.
That's a wrap. Take care. Good night. See you.
All right, take care, everyone. See ya.
Take care.